You are about to witness something that has never been done before. 3,200 pounds of formed steel sliding around the world center of racing, Daytona International Speedway. The cars you'll see in this race are digital replicas of what NASCAR raced 10 years ago, but with one major difference. Gone is the engine restrictor plate, and with it, the limit of performance and all-out speed. Fully unleashed, these cars will easily carry over 220 miles per hour in the turns and approach 250 miles per hour down the straightaways. Welcome to the Carnomaly 500. In a field featuring some of the biggest names in the business, including 2020 eNASCAR, Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion Nick Ottinger, and two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Kyle Busch, the stakes are at an all-time high. For weeks, drivers and their teams have been hard at work, searching for that perfect balance of speed and handling needed to win a 500-mile race at Daytona. Storylines? Yeah, we got them. How about putting Rowdy at the back of the pack and letting him slice through the field? How about a cool $15,000 bonus to Ottinger if he can win from the 43rd starting position? $30,000 on the line, 43 drivers, 500 miles, and one winner. The field of nearly 400 entries has been whittled down to just 43 who will make up the grid for eRacr's first annual Carnomaly 500. Hello, racing fans, and welcome to the main event, the Carnomaly 500. Finally, we have reached the moment everybody has been waiting for the past 2 weeks. We have been putting this show together piece by piece. We are so happy to have you here with us tonight to see, finally, 500 miles unrestricted speed here from the World Center of Racing. David Schildhouse alongside Landon Cassill, Parker Kligerman. We'll have Kim Kuhn bringing you stories from pit road throughout the evening. Gentlemen, it's been a long road to this point. We are finally here. Parker, the Carnomaly 500 about to kick off. A lot of nerves in the air, but we got a race to take care of.
Tons. It's been, 3 weeks, months of preparation. Drivers have put everything they have into this. We started with just under 400 competitors. We've narrowed it down to the top 43, and now they're racing for a $15,000 prize pool, and one driver has a chance at an extra $15,000, which we'll get into a little bit later. But this is a culmination of weeks of time and preparation into trying to make it to this top level event. Landon, it's been awesome to watch.
Yeah, Parker, David, thank you. We're here. We made it. We've made it this far, but we've got 500 miles to go. I feel like we've put together so many storylines, so many drivers, so many things to see and talk about, and it's only the beginning.
Let's do it.
And every story comes with good, or every good race comes with good storylines, I should say, and this one is no different. When you take a field of almost 400 drivers, whittle it down to 43, and we know a lot of the names that are in this race. We've watched them for the past few weeks as they've gotten to this point, but there's so many stories that come with these drivers, both on and off the racetrack, and we figured, well, who better to tell their stories than them themselves? So I'll step aside and listen to these stories as we hear from our drivers tonight.
This journey has been absolutely wild. A month ago, I looked at the Carnomaly 500 email that I got, and I said, I don't know if I can compete. I haven't raced on iRacing since November. And then so I was like, okay, I'm going to enter. And the big moment that I knew I was going to make the race was last night when I was sitting in 8th place at one point on one of the last restarts with about 10 to go. I said, if I'm up here with these guys, these big dogs that they know what they're doing, and I can stick here with them, I'm going to be in.
a huge difference maker for my ability to get into Carnomaly 500 was one, being able to participate in the race because of the winter storm that we had here in Texas. As soon as I was able to get power, I instantly was like, I have to get into this event. I have to talk to the guys and get myself in a prelim. And then once we did that, you know, thankfully the storm came and passed. I think the next day after we got power, it was 80 outside. So that's Texas weather for you.
I'd venture to say that finishing 7th in the second 150 was probably the biggest accomplishment of my sim racing career.
Anytime there's an event, you know, especially with like 400 entries, something crazy like that, and it seems like we've run like 25 different heat races just to get to this point.
The fact that there was over 300 people that signed up for this deal, and 43 get to race, and I'm one of the 43, means a lot.
It's really hard, man. I have a almost 4-year-old little girl now, and between trying to raise her, I'm getting married next year. I also help run my dad's roofing company, and then this is just what I do for fun, and just trying to balance all the time and put it together is just, it's insane. But somehow every week I don't lose my mind and I do it and it just all comes together.
And my friends and family have been so supportive. My wife has given up so much time. I've just slacked off the past 2 weeks because I put in 2,500 laps of practice. It's been phenomenal, and I'm really excited to be in the final race and to be a part of it.
You know, my mom has been the one that's been it's the most excited about all this through the whole thing. So she'll probably be watching on race night.
Well, I don't sleep much. I look terrible. I just moved over the past 2 days. I'm not kidding. I got out of my house at like 3:30 last night and I got to sleep. And I try to schedule my time as well as possible. So family is really important. Once everyone goes to sleep, you know, that's my time. And so I'll stay up after that and try to focus on sim racing, you know, from 9:30 to midnight or whenever I can get it in.
My setup got shared, and spent, you know, a good amount of time, many hours, a couple of long nights working on that setup. It was my fault. We got knocked down the qualifying order probably about 7 spots because of that. For those people who did, you know, take my setup, they stole it. There's going to be no give. I am going to be shipping it under them every single chance I get.
His teammates had access to the setups he was building, and vice versa. He had access to what we were building as well. It just ended up in the way that Brian had the better car at that point. And, you know, the way that I look at it is, if you go into a practice session and some guy's running half a second faster than you, and he accidentally shares his setup to everyone, and you find it, I feel like, you know, at that point it's a finders keepers situation. But it's not necessarily as malicious as you may think. You know, we brought Brian in and we talked to Brian and said, hey, this is what happened. You had this here. We now have that. We want to work together with you. I've made some changes that make it better. I've reached out to Brian, and you know, he's confident and content doing his own thing. But we definitely reached out and we tried to form a partnership and tried to bridge that gap. Obviously, there was a little bit of, you know, man, I can't believe this happened. But Brian takes responsibility for him putting it on that shared forum.
I'd say we probably put in about 25 to 35 hours on the car with qualifying and testing, and it's paid off.
You are the lowest I rating at roughly somewhere around 2,000, making you the absolute underdog in this race. Is that motivation for you to show people what you're capable of, or are you, you know, going into this with a lot of apprehension?
Well, I feel like there's a lot of motivation right now. I've been really motivated the past 2 weeks, knowing that, you know, I have one of the lowest I ratings, but I am extremely motivated to get this set up even faster so that I can compete for the top 10 and maybe even contend for the win.
And I had a lot of help last night from Nick Ottinger, and, you know, he texted me. He's like, dude, you were racing with some of the best sim racers on the service, and you ran right with them. In a car that's incredibly hard to drive.
It's always just fun, not even just racing yourself, but just watching everybody just go through all the races and you know, spectating these races is honestly a lot of fun, almost just as fun as racing in them.
Preliminary races where there's a lot of good guys like Seth the Merchant in there, and a big moment for me was really capitalizing on, you know, getting a run off of 2 and passing Seth below the yellow line on the back stretch. You know, you always take any risk anytime you go below the yellow line in iRacing because it's a 50-50 shot to actually let you back up. And that's single-handedly the first time I've done a move like that in any official capacity, I would say. And I was unsure if he was going to let me up. So thank goodness he did, because I don't know if I was going to actually lift.
And as soon as I clicked join in the server, my heart rate went from like, I think it was like 65 to like immediately like 90. And then it peaked at 144. You have to be like on it. You can't make mistakes. And when stuff happens, like I got spun out and came back.
What has this event meant to you? Do you have friends and family? You mentioned you hadn't been on iRacing for a while. Are they all paying attention? Are they all gonna be watching on Wednesday night? What has this event meant to you to make it to the top 43?
Yeah, so this event has meant a lot to me because I've been able to race against the best iRacing pros in the world. And then not only that, but Kyle Busch. I was racing against him in some of the practice races and seeing these other NASCAR drivers out there. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. It doesn't happen often.
Yeah, I've got a few people I plan on working with throughout the course of the race, and one of those being Kyle Busch. He's going to be on a very similar setup, if not my setup, for the race. We're both starting near the back, and we actually ran really well together in the practice races. So I'm happy to work with Kyle if I can.
It was definitely up and down. It was a roller coaster deal. The whole event has been a roller coaster. I mean, I have no doubt on my mind that these sim racing events, these big sim racing events, puts you in the correct mindset to go to some of these big real racing events and compete.
You won the pole, but now you're taking the challenge, starting at the back, to go for $18,000. You thought about how you're going to slice your way through the field, or if you're going to hang out? Any strategies?
That opens up a lot more stress for someone like me taking that challenge starting last, because it's very hard to come up with a strategy. I think I'm going to take time for the first 10 to 20 laps, see how it plays out.
I want to go for the win, and I feel really competitive.
I'm starting third, and I think with Nick going to the back, that might put me on the front row. If really, it's just kind of like the same strategy I've used, just kind of try to stay out front.
I'm not one of those guys who's going to go out and try to lead every lap. Some of those guys that I'm in the race with, that's their thing. They love to go out, try to lead as many laps, dominate the race. It's not my style. There's a long time for me to get from 40th up to the front.
Oh my gosh, it's like a chess match. It's so fun. You sit there and you ride in line and you have enough run every lap where you just like, do I make a pass on this dude, or do I just sit behind him for the longest time?
I'm just happy I made it into the event. I think the setup's good enough that maybe a top 15 is my kind of personal goal. I'd love to win the thing, and I think we have enough speed that I can, if I get myself into the right position, I can definitely do it. But there is some really strong competition, so it's going to be really hard.
Winning this event would definitely be, I guess, a reminder that I've still got it. This year has been incredibly tough, not being a part of the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. And, there was some doubts. There was definitely some doubts, but we went out and we won our Battle 150. We're one of the favorites to win the event, I think, based on our performance. And, to win this event would just give me the validation that, hey, I can still do this. This isn't a wasted time. It's still something I love doing. And I'm very competitive.
Your strategy is going to be managing your tire temps.
Tires are big here. The tires, they're, we're doing like 230 in the center of the corner, and it's just melting the tires away.
How do you time runs when you're going 230, 240 into the corners and then off the corner?
There's two things I was thinking of. Is one, just keep it clean. This is a long race. 500 miles of this track with this combo is going to wear people out. And two, try to stay in the lead lap. I don't know if you noticed in practice, but 2 or 3 really fast cars can break away from the draft.
Normally they say it's a football field a second. I'm pretty sure it's more because we're going almost 250 in the draft.
Being conservative can get you to this race, but it can't win you this race.
500 miles, it's 200 laps. It's like a real Daytona 500. So I think as long as we're there at the end, we'll have a shot to win.
Obviously, we've got to get 250, 300, 400 miles behind us before we really start pushing.
And you can't just go out there and take the lead and pull away, because you'll just burn right through your tires and they'll catch you right back up. And there's so much draft that, if you pull somebody in the turn, they catch you, by the end of the backstretch.
So it's gonna be chaos. I expect to kind of hopefully get through it.
Normally, it's under 20 laps to go. You start seeing who's left, who your real competition is going to be to win, and that's when it's time to push.
That whole last 2-3 laps, you're gonna see a lot of passing, I think, for the lead.
Serious business there, I would say. When you hear it in their voices, Parker, I mean, you would think they were preparing for the actual Daytona 500 when you hear the way that some of these drivers talk about their path to tonight, everything that they've gone through and all the individual stories. But it was so cool to hear you talk with those guys and get their perspective on it. What stood out to you as you talked to some of them?
Well, first of all, I got to give a shout out to our whole production team for putting that together. Landon was really the impetus for getting that idea together, and it just helped facilitate in terms of talking to these drivers. And it was really cool just to hear their stories of why they did the event, what they put into this event, what it means to them. You hear about their families and the time they have to spend on their sims trying to get ready for something like this, and knowing their families are supporting them, that they're allowing them to spend this time and get to this event, and then excited to see them there. So, I mean, I think all those things just remind you that there's real people behind these virtual race cars. And that's really the key with some pieces like that, is reminding you that, look, these are people putting real time, real effort, real resources behind being a part of events like this. And I loved hearing some of their stories there, Landon.
Yeah, Parker, and it's real talented people. I mean, these people know what they're doing. We say that on all of iRacing, but the cars are virtual, but the racing is real. So we don't want to hide the fact that there's virtual cars, but this is real racing, and these are real racers. They know what they're doing. So our goal at eRacr is to continue to just build the best platform we can for these racers to get their name out and show what they've got. And I think you saw some pretty compelling storylines right off the bat.
Stephen Norman jumps out there. Parker, you highlighted lowest I rating in the field. And it's so fascinating to hear from his perspective, all the things that he listed off, mentioning Kyle Busch racing against him and everything else. I mean, you want to talk about, the official underdog of this race. I think he's safely that, but, he stands as good a chance as anybody in this field to go out there and win it.
He does, and that's what's so cool. When Landon and I started doing these eRacr events, one of the things we wanted was to allow anyone, no matter your iRating or license level, to have a chance to be a part of an event like this. And if you are that underdog that has the talent but hasn't had the time to go dedicate yourself to getting into a series like eNASCAR, this can be a platform for you. And Stephen Norman is a great testament to that. He put the effort in, he has the skills, and now he's here racing for a $15,000 prize pool against a two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. What is cooler than that? And the only platform that allows you to do that, iRacing. So it's just an amazing thing all around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if he's going to get to victory lane, it's going to take a lot of things. Landon, let's take a look at tonight's keys to victory.
Well, thank you, David. The first word is survive. I mean, if we watched any of the prelims, any of the Battle 150s, you get to the end of your race. This one is 500 miles with no resets. So surviving this race is definitely your first key. The second key, I said, keep your balance. Day to night transition, the track's going to change a little bit. The cars are going to change as the track builds up rubber. We didn't have any rain in real Daytona, and we base our weather off of real Daytona weather. So we haven't had any rain in the past week, so the track usage is still comparable to what it was last week, but the cars are going to see a balance change from day to night. And a lot of the drivers that we talked to, Parker, are anticipating having their car tuned for the end of the race. So it'll be interesting to see how the field shifts from the day to night shift.
Definitely. So that's just like real life, right? If you have a day to night, you can be good in the day, but that's not going to pay off at nighttime. And guess what? The race pays at the end. That will happen at the night. So you got to tune for that. Remember to hydrate. This is 500 miles and it may be sim racing, but I have never sweated more in my life than in sim racing. I've never sweated a real car like I do sim racing. I've never felt so physically abused sometimes as I have in sim racing. So remember to hydrate. And then when do you make your move? You will see these cars in trains of cars, packs at time. What is going to be that move that you make? Maybe it's below the yellow line. Maybe it's with 1 lap to go, 2 laps to go, or it's 20 laps to go. When do you make that move that puts you in position to win this race?
Well, not only are the drivers racing for something tonight, there's also participation in chat. If you've been watching our past broadcast for the past 2 weeks, we've got the eRacr predictor back. Let's get the Parker point right there on the
hover your
on
mouse,
PC only, not on
Yeah.
mobile. Right-hand
Hover
side
your
of the
mouse.
screen,
right there.
there.
There'll be a little ER box pops up. That's a predictor. Check in, start putting in your picks. And when you put in your picks, you will be able to sort of gain points. You can adjust them throughout the race. So also be predictions throughout the race. All these points add up. But remember, just playing enters you into a giveaway. So just play the predictor, check in, get involved, see if you can guess the top 5 and the winner here tonight. And you won't be able to put in picks till we get rolling on the pace laps, but at least you can look at it right now and get checked in. So that's something we've brought here for this event, and it's been a lot of fun, and you're seeing how to play it right there in front of us, David.
I like it. I like it. Remember, the goal here is to get the most points that you can. The second goal is to beat Landon Cassill in his own game, because he has been absolutely ruthless the past 2 weeks in the eRacr predictor, and we've got to knock that man off so that we can topple Cassill Hood here, as it were. But gentlemen, 500 miles separates us from knowing who's going to win this race. Landon, I want to start with you. We have 43 drivers to choose from. I want to know from you first, who do you think is going to win this race tonight and why?
Man, that's a tough question. I mean, there's so many good drivers in this field. I think our strength of field is somewhere in the 6,400 range. So this is an insanely strong field. I love Brian Blackford. I want to see him win. I think my heart's with Brian Blackford. But my controversial pick, especially comparing to Brian, with what I saw with Chris Overland last Thursday night, if he drives like that for 500 miles and doesn't get caught up in a wreck, I think people are going to they're going to give him space, and it's going to be an advantage to him. So, Chris Overland is my upset, maybe not even upset pick. He's probably the favorite to win.
So I got my eye on Kyle Putz. We know how good he's been in the practice races all throughout. He's been a good friend of ours, and worked throughout so much practice to get ready for this event. Ray Alfalla. I mean, he's a 4-time eNASCAR champion, and he did a lot of that winning in this exact car. He knows this car so well. He just is so attuned to it. You cannot count out Ray Alfalla. And then the one I think what most people have their eye on, he'll be starting last tonight. That is Nick Ottinger, going for that big prize, because you mentioned it. Maybe the drivers treat him a little nicer knowing the prize he's up for. I don't know, but I think he has, a lot of people know what he's up for. But he has a huge, tall task to go from the back all the way to the front. If he can survive, he will definitely be a factor at the end.
All right, here's my pick. It's going to be the man who won last year's Firecracker 400, Brandon Cattell. He's got Patrick on the hood, and he's got experience on his side. Won our marquee event last year, and I think he can go and get it done. We saw the drive that he was able to put together between, his prelim and his dual race. He just flat out knows how to get it done. And so I'm putting all my eggs in the Brandon Cattell basket. I think he's fired up. I think he's got a great setup. He has the skills. He's got the experience. He understands what 500 miles around Daytona looks like, feels like, and how you have to approach it. So put me in the books for Brandon Cattell. But I like the pick, Parker, of Ray Alfalla, 4-time eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion, like you said, made his money in these cars, but a little bit different situation with this particular race. So if you look back in history and you say, well, he was so good in these cars in that series with open setups at all types of tracks, what do you think it is when you take that restrictor plate off for Ray Alfalla? Even though he has experience and history in the car, this is still a little bit different.
Well, it definitely changes it, and he mentioned that a lot when I was chatting with him the other day about how fast you're going in these cars. He mentioned how, normally we say at Daytona Talladega, hey, they're going a football field a second. Well, no, we're actually going faster than that, because we're doing about almost 250 miles an hour in the draft. It is faster in a football field a second, and that changes everything. That changes your timing when you come off of turn 2 and suddenly you're in turn 3. That changes your timing getting on pit road. It changes the way these tires react and how fast they go away. So the speed just adds a huge element to this that he hasn't experienced. No one has. No one has done a 500-mile race of this magnitude with this car, unrestricted Daytona. We've never seen this before. No one knows what to expect. And I think because of that, we can pick all the favorites we want. But it's probably going to be that person none of us have thought of that's going to find themselves going and getting this big prize here in the Carnomaly 500, because there are so many unknowns. It's that unknown driver that we'll find out there. And maybe it's a Steven Norman, right? Maybe he surprises everyone and goes and gets there. Maybe it's Kyle Busch, right? He's done 500-mile races in real life. He knows what it takes to do this. That's the person I'm looking for to see who rises up and finds themselves in position to win this race, Landon.
Yeah, I mean,
All right, Landon.
we didn't even say Kyle Busch, did we?
No!
You know, the guy's
No.
starting last. I suppose if he just follows Nick through the field, he'll be in good shape, right?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
let's Landon, I want to come to you because we've talked a lot about the technical side of these cars and setups now that we've gotten to the open setup portion of this, and you've had a lot of great insights. So I want to turn to you one more time before we hit the race tonight. What is it that's going to be the key? We talked about balanced day to night. What are you trying to do to always strike that perfect compromise, but to be better for the nighttime? What are these guys probably doing to those setups?
Yeah, well, if this is something I'm going to need my hands for, I've got to put my keyboard down. So I think that, you know, the race winning car tonight is going to be a car that's trimmed out. I mean, you want to handle, the tire fall off is crazy, but at the end of the day, when it's a drag race to the end, you got to be fast on the straightaway. You got to be able to pull someone off the corner if you had to make a pass on the outside, like we saw Chris Overland do in his Blue Emu Battle 150. So I think you want to be trimmed out, and I think that you're going to have to be loose to start the race and see where the track goes from there. So, you know, with a trimmed out car, you're going to be coil binding, which means your springs are in a box. You're not going to have a lot of adjustment to it, maybe a little bit of air pressure, but that's it.
Sounds like a recipe for a lot of fun, David, in terms of those handling those setups.
It does. Well, you know, the best recipes in the world can lead to great outcomes. However, if you don't take the right steps along the way, it really doesn't amount to a hill of beans, I guess you could say. So, we saw a promo video. We figured the hype level is pretty high right now. Why not ramp it up a little bit more? One more time before we get going. You are about to witness something that has never been done before. 3,200 pounds of formed steel sliding around the world center of racing, Daytona International Speedway. The cars you'll see in this race are digital replicas of what NASCAR raced 10 years ago, but with one major difference. Gone is the engine restrictor plate, and with it, the limit of performance and all-out speed. Fully unleashed, these cars will easily carry over 220 miles per hour in the turns and approach 250 miles per hour down the straightaways. Welcome to the Carnomaly 500. In a field featuring some of the biggest names in the business, including 2020 eNASCAR, Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion Nick Ottinger, and two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Kyle Busch, the stakes are at an all-time high. For weeks, drivers and their teams have been hard at work, searching for that perfect balance of speed and handling needed to win a 500-mile race at Daytona. Storylines? Yeah, we got them. How about putting Rowdy at the back of the pack and letting him slice through the field? How about a cool $15,000 bonus to Ottinger if he can win from the 43rd starting position? $30,000 on the line, 43 drivers, 500 miles, and one winner. The field of nearly 400 entries has been whittled down to just 43 who will make up the grid for eRacer's first annual Carnomaly 500. And now to kick off the Carnomaly 500, let's get the most famous words in motorsports. You are about to witness something that...
Hey, eRacer drivers, get ready. You better get comfortable.
You got 500 miles ahead of you.
It's gonna go like 230 miles an hour, unrestricted, insane super speedway racing.
Keep them fenders on it and be there at the end.
Buckle up, bear down, let's get it.
Resets? We don't need no stinking resets.
I'm obviously not a great iRacer, so I brought the professional to give the command.
It's gonna be a long race.
Get those surge protectors plugged in.
Now I get to say the line.
Gentlemen, start your,
This is a bit weird.
This is a little weird, but
Drivers!
Start your virtual engines.
Start your engine!
start something up because you're ready to rock. Good luck.
Okay, that was cool. That was really cool. I hadn't even seen that before. That was incredible. Oh my God. All right. That's we had a great Gentleman Start Your Engines last year for the Firecracker 400. I think that tops it. I don't know. That was really cool. Let's take a look at the conditions here at Daytona International Speedway for the Carnomaly 500. Current air temp 65 degrees. Track temp just a little bit elevated from that at 73. Winds today a huge factor, 14 miles an hour, partly cloudy skies, but that wind, Parker, that is the real curveball these drivers were not ready for.
No, and it's just because, as Landon said earlier, we use the weather in real Daytona, and then we input that into the sim. 14 miles per hour of wind, that is going to drastically change the handling of these race cars. We experienced it in a lot of testing. Wind at that level can make one corner very easy to drive, and the next set of corners really treacherous, Landon.
Yeah, I mean, I've already been hearing from drivers that turn 1 and 2 is just going to be a bloodbath all night. It's going to be just ripping the bottom, paint the yellow line. Don't get stuck out of the groove. 3 and 4 might be a little bit different, but that wind is treacherous.
Wow. We look at the cars sitting here on the grid, fired up, ready to go, all this time that they've had to think, and now they're in that moment. I know I've been in some races that have got my heart, fired up. I can only imagine what these drivers are thinking as well as they get set for a 500-mile journey from the world center of racing. So let's take a look at tonight's starting grid. Your pole sitter dropping to the back for his chance at $15,000. 2020 eNASCAR iRacing Coca-Cola Series driver Nick Ottinger to his outside. From Horizon Racing with Logitech G Altis, Seth DeMerchant in the number 57. Row number 2, 4-time series champion from the Coke Series, Ray Alfala, and to his outside, Chris Overland. Row number 3 is going to feature Adam Gilliland and another Coke Series driver next to him, Colin Keister. Row number 4, my pick to win here tonight with Patrick on the hood. Brandon Cattell, the Firecracker 400 champion, and Blake Reynolds to his outside. Row number 5, Colin Bowden with the best hair in the business, and to his outside, Garrett Maines. Jake Nichols will be inside row number 6 alongside Sean Butler. Blake McCandless inside row number 7 alongside the master of the lean stream himself, Garrett Smithley. Kane Cook, Liam Brotherton will head up row number 8. Spencer E. Burns and Kyle Putz make up row number 9. Jimmy Mullis inside row number 10 alongside Justin Bolton. Marcus Ruckman, another one of those Horizon Racing Logitech G Altis drivers alongside Nick Morse in row 11 there. Michael Cozy Jr., Winvow 8820, the inside of row 12 alongside Ryan Doucette. Santiago Tires, Logan Helton will be in row 13. Row 14, Will Rogers from Space Station Racing alongside his teammate, Blake Cisneros. Stephen Norman, the ultimate underdog, coming from row 15 alongside Timmy Holmes. Row 16 features Aaron Smith and Dylan Alt. Caden Rush and another eNASCAR driver, Graham Bolin, start from row 17. Daniel Roper, David L. Brown head up row number 18. Brad Slaughter Jr., Brian Blackford, row 19. Row 20, James D. Gibson and Mac McMillan. Row 21, Matt Busa and Christopher Weil. And heading up the rear, none other than Rowdy himself, Kyle Busch in the 43rd and final starting spot here tonight. Parker's the drivers start their first of 3 warm-up laps. Quite the field of drivers. And now we'll head down to pit road to hear from our very own Kim Kuhn.
Thanks, guys. Well, remember for the Blue Emu Battles 150s, teams had less than 24 hours to get their cars ready for the race from their qualifying setups. Now teams have had almost a week to prep their cars for the Carnomaly 500. Some teams taking big swings on their setup, testing dozens of iterations to figure out exactly what they want. Others just making very minor changes. For instance, we talked to Blake McCandless, who said other than a very slight handling adjustment, they've kept their car the same as the Battle 150s. And keep in mind with these setups, you mentioned it, Landon, they had to prepare the car to make the transition from day to night. So we'll keep an eye on that, as well as monitor the teams all race long to keep fans up to speed on what teams are saying throughout the Carnomaly 500.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. All right, boys. We've been waiting for this moment. We've had 4 events leading up to tonight. We've been just excited to see what's going to happen. The eRacr Predictor now open for business. Parker, Landon, be nice to chat. I know you want to win, but let somebody else win, all right?
I was just going to mention it's open. I just got my picks in, so be sure to put your picks in there on the eRacr Predictor, and then on the right side where you see the little trophy, that's where you pick who your winner is. You're just trying to pick the top 5 in no particular order. We're going to take a look maybe at some of the high scores here. Guess what? Chris Overland also in this race, just ahead of Landon Cassill. And Chris Overland said he's going to keep playing somehow while he races, which I think is ridiculous. But he's going to try. So be sure to get in there. We're at 367 total entries. All 367 except for Landon Cassill have a chance at getting some prizes here after the event.
I'm afraid to put Nick Ottinger in my top 5 for the predictor. I just know that if he's in the top 5, that he's probably going to win it. And I don't know, maybe that's a hedge for the 15 grand that we got to go call Whitz Racing Products and say we need to pay up on this thing. Maybe a hedge is if I put Nick in and pick him. But man, get your predictions in. Here's your chance. This race is about to start. I'm so hyped for it.
I got my predictions in. I got them locked in. I'm not going to say who. I think we should all keep that to ourselves as to not influence what everybody else is doing out there. But I've got my 5 drivers picked. And remember, you can adjust them as the race goes on. It's just going to decrease the points that you earn for each one. But, oh, man, this is exciting. We look through this field of drivers. So many recognizable faces, Parker, from the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, from other high-level events here in the iRacing world, real-life drivers like Garrett Smithley and Kyle Busch at the back of the pack. There's just so much going on, so much to keep track of, and we have 500 miles to watch it all unfold.
We do, and it's going to be awesome to see this as we watch Nick Ottinger. Guess what he's doing? He's pulling the inside because he is going to last place for the Whitz RC Racing Products last to first challenge, trying to get that extra $15,000, which means if he wins this race, he will make $18,000 in one single iRacing race. I can't wait to see him try and come through the field. I have him in my predictor and I was just as scared, but why not? How can you not take the guy that has that going for him right now? I can't wait to see him try to slice into the field.
$18,000, Landon.
$18,000 for an iRacing race. That's amazing. It's $3,000 to anybody else to win. It's $100 to start. These drivers have put in a lot of work.
They have put in a lot of work, and it's all come down to this. The field will be in the hands of 4-time eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion Ray Alfalla gets promoted to the pole position. Alongside him, Seth DeMerchant. We look at our starter. Green flag is in the air, and the Carnomaly 500 is underway. Great jump for Alfalla. Not as good of a launch for DeMerchant. Alfalla free and clear as they head off into one for the first time.
And let's see how these drivers try and take care of each other, knowing 500 miles ahead. You're in the daytime right now. It's slicker than it will be as we get later in the race. We've talked about the wind that they're experiencing. All these things as we see a predictor come up. That's a prediction, so you can get that in right now. Are you excited to see some racing? I would say the answer is yes. That's pretty easy. Be sure to be playing on your computer. But I want to see if these drivers take care of each other if we do get a pretty early green flag run here as they all give each other a little bit of room early on.
I mean, so much room. I saw Nick Ottinger was seconds back from the field when he crossed the start-finish line. I saw some cars go down onto the apron on the backstretch. These drivers, there's a handful of drivers definitely taking a conservative approach. That was Blake McCandless that actually dropped to the back.
Certainly a viable strategy. McCandless all by himself, well back from the pack. Christopher Weil well back from the pack as well. So Candless playing the safe game, I guess you could say, but he is so far back, Parker, he's not even in the draft right now.
Well, this was some of the drivers discussing this before this race. Do you just go hang out, let the wrecks happen? I don't love this strategy, and I'll tell you why. I think, just like I said at the beginning, I think people take care of each other early on in a 500-mile race. Landon, you and I have done some Daytona 500s. We've been a part of, how drivers treat each other, especially on a clear, perfect day. There's no reason to be aggressive early on. There's no reason to take excessive risks. So going this far back is normally what we'd see in a pack race where you think, oh, there's going to be wrecks, or maybe there's a reason for an early wreck. But I just don't see it. As we look at a lot of the field single file right now, they're sort of 2x2 towards the back, but they're taking care of each other, taking care of the race cars, trying to make it through this daytime portion.
Yeah, and we're only 3 laps in. I mean, we know that lap 5, 6 is when the tire fall off is really going to happen. These cars are really going to start getting slick. So even if you're trying to be conservative, we're going to see some side-by-side racing here pretty soon. And the one thing, this is a 500-mile race, 200 laps. I don't know if we've said it enough times yet, but the fuel window is really only 30 laps. With no restrictor plates, all this on throttle time, these cars get way worse fuel mileage than our real-life cars do with the restrictor plates. So, expect maybe some green flag pit stops here, which we haven't seen yet. Some pit road penalties could happen, speeding on pit road, getting off of turn 4 with hot tires, slick tires is going to get really interesting really quickly. I mean, we're only 25 laps away from it already.
Did you see a couple of those cars off turn 4 just get absolutely sideways already 5 laps in?
Yeah.
That's why they're trying to run single file right now.
Well, and that's a little bit of what I said earlier, too, with these, how are these drivers balancing their cars from day to night? Because with these setups, I'm just going to tell you, there's a right rear coil bind. You're running a 50 in the right rear. You probably have a 300 and a 350 in the left front. So both front springs are coil binding right now, or they're riding on the bump stops. There's no adjustment. I mean, you've got left rear spring perch, so you can do some wedge out of the left rear. You've got air pressure. I mean, there's no adjustment. So if you want to be good at the end of 500 miles when the sun is going to be down, the air is going to be a lot cooler, you're going to have to, you're going to have to hang on to this thing for the first 2.5 hours of the race.
Not to cut you off, David, Nicholas Morse just had a moment through the tri-oval, slid up in front of a bunch of cars. That was pretty crazy, just in coming to the lap 6. That was wild.
Yeah, I've been watching some of the racing take place. Some people are really just going easy. We've seen a few positions change hands, seen some drivers fall way back. But by and large, it's been single file for the most part. Alfala continues to lead from Cattell, Overland to Merchant and Gilliland, your top 5. Single file mostly all the way through, but here on lap number 7, you can already see the separation in this field as setup does matter, as Landon was talking about some of the technical aspects and sort of the box you put yourself in of how limited you are on your adjustments. Really, you got what you got, but if you have a decent base to work off of, you're going to be okay. A little 3 wide further back in the pack, but they get it sorted out. I'm not surprised to see what we're seeing right now, guys. I'm really not, because it's hard to go too wide. You're going to take the passes where the opportunities present themselves, but it's been fairly composed, I would say. And with the prospect of green flag pit stops, that's not something we have seen throughout the entirety of everything leading up to today. And it's been a piece of conversation amongst all the drivers of what would a green flag pit stop look like, as we take a replay look here at Christopher Weil, who's been running the back of the pack. Not a good start to the race for him. And that pastel colored number 41, you saw him get out of shape there, up into the wall already. A lot of damage for Weil, and that's I don't want to call it a race ender, but it's not going to help his chances here tonight.
That's unfortunate to see, and at least he was far back. I think Kim has a report on what actually happened to Christopher Weil there.
Yeah, he had planned to pull off after the race started, and was running by himself in order to stay in the back and keep away from being a hazard, from causing a caution. So he was having some issues with his setup and his technology. So unfortunate day and evening for him.
Right, Kim, and I think we found out it was actually the VR headset was going wonky for him. So that's just it's like having mechanical failure, guys. Right? In real life, you have the VR headset going sort of a miss. That's going to make it really hard to drive. He wanted to at least start the race and see if he could get it fixed. He wasn't able to get it fixed and had that incident there. You got a predictor.
VR.
Back to the front. They're starting to race. I guess 10 laps into it, they decided to start racing. This is exactly what I said a couple laps ago, though. I think the tire fall-off is starting to happen. There's some drivers that probably went hard to start. They're paying the price, and you're gonna see some side-by-side racing at this point now because people are just either getting out of the way or they're tired of following somebody that they know is losing the handle on their car.
You got to make those decisions quick. If you think the car in front of you is not hooked up or is slowing you down, you can't let yourself stick behind him. You got to get around him if you think that's holding up your pace. As Alfala now is defending hard against DeMerchant underneath the yellow line to make that pass work here on Alfala. This could be the first green flag lead change right here, and it is now. Alfala falls back to third. Overland's going to take over second. Seth DeMerchant now out in front.
One thing that I just saw in 3 and 4 was Keister, sliding up to the wall and really having to slow his car down when he got up to the wall, had to file himself back into the bottom. So, it just shows that top lane is still really slick. Even though I think 3 and 4 is the corner where that wind might be helping the drivers, Keister definitely had to jump on the brakes there up against the fence.
So one of the things we talk about in Super Speedway racing all the time is that, there's long runs, the tires start to go away, maybe a little bit, handling sort of becomes a thing. Well, when you're going as fast as these drivers, I'm seeing speeds around 240 miles an hour at the end of the straightaway, 215 in the center of the corner, 220. That's a situation where all that happens faster. So 7 laps in, we saw cars starting to get a little sideways. Then 8 or 9 laps in, they started racing each other because that's when the car handling actually came into play. It's that quick. Right now, because you're going so fast, these tires go away so quickly, you actually have those things happen in a far faster time than we'd see in real life in a normal restricted plate situation.
I want to highlight a driver who's on the move here and looking to take away the 11th position right now. That's Michael Cozy Jr., who started back in the 23rd position and now finds himself up into 11th, one of your biggest movers here in the first 13 laps of this race. I talked with Cozy before this race. He expressed a lot of confidence, said he's going to take care of his car and try and be there at the end. And he said if he's there at the end, he's just going to send it to get that win tonight. In his terms, he said victory lane or care center for Michael Cozy Jr. It's been a great representation as DeMerchant's lost the lead now. His teammate there is Chris Overland has taken over the lead. But Cozy's done a great job up into that 11th position from 23rd as there's a lead change again into turn 3. Ray Alfala back out front.
Oh, and I now have the wrong pick in the predicament.
I did too. Picked odd.
I went odd. There was more odd when he fell back, but then he got back up there. Good for him, but bad for my prediction.
Long way to go. Don't worry. Long way to go.
I know. But I love this green flag racing. This is awesome to see. I'm loving how clean they're keeping it. We're seeing 2x2. We're seeing handling come into play. One of the things I'm really noticing that I just love about this car is you see the cars go into the corner, and then they sort of slide up a little bit, and then sort of diamond the corner and drive the car back off down towards the yellow line. And it's just the way this thing, you can tell the handling that's needed inside that car. You can tell how much they're fighting it, and that you're having to diamond the corners at Daytona. We just never talk about those sorts of things at Daytona, but you have it here because of how fast they're going these things.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time I had really thought about my line at Daytona. And I can tell you that you don't want to arc it in too much. Daytona, the way the banking is at Daytona, it's very aggressive transition on the bottom. And so you want to enter, a little bit shallow, let the left front catch. And, like you said, Parker, you're going to diamond just a little bit if it helps.
Uh-oh, guys.
Got trouble for Rowdy here. You'll see by himself, just up really high, and a little bit of a boop from Logan Helton. It looked like when Busch had to get on the binders to not run the wall down. and that's going to spin him out. He continues on, no caution, but he's going to need a caution now to get caught back up.
That he does. That's so hard. I want to see him sort of work his way through. I want to watch him work some of his magic through the field. I mean, he's still going, so he's not out by any means. Still a 500-mile race. I think that car didn't look like it had major damage. So if he can, keep it clean from here and get a caution and continue to be on the lead lap, he's still got a shot at this.
Get you a Nick Ottinger update. Currently P30, so he's worked his way from 43rd up to 30, Landon, for Ottinger, and he's in that main pack, and he's gotten away from some of these guys behind him who have fallen out of this lead pack.
Taking his time, right?
Yeah.
He's smart, man.
Started so far back, not just starting last, but started basically, 3 seconds behind the field in last place. Nick is, I don't know if I'm surprised as far up as he's gotten as we're riding along board with Nick Ottinger on the Valvoline onboard here. This just tells you how fast his car is, though, to already pass basically 13, 14 cars.
Yeah,
let's,
a lot of speed, very composed.
Guys, I want to, we're a couple laps in this thing. Let's take a ride, just listen, see how much he's lifting, playing that throttle, that sort of thing. That is a good couple seconds off throttle. You heard how much he was playing Caden Rush there in the 17 Best Buy machine, who got that little bit of loose through the tribal. Nick Ottinger stuck it right there to the bottom, got by him. He's just methodically picking off cars one by one. That was so cool to watch. I just love listening to those engine sounds and how much he's lifting going off the corners.
Yeah, I remember, Parker, we called that tri-oval the 5th corner here at Daytona. At least with the unrestricted COT. I don't remember who it was. I think you said it was Ray Alfala that
we got some trouble here, Landon. Trouble. Will Rogers around off the exit of turn 2 and gets hit by. Oh no, he gets hit. He gets hit by Ottinger. Ottinger, a lot of damage to the front end of his machine here on lap 21, and that is a serious implication to this one. Smoke billowing out from under the hood of Nick Ottinger's machine, and $15,000 goes up in smoke. Just like that.
Wow.
God.
Unbelievable.
He was doing such a good job. He was doing everything right. I'm seeing a lot of F's in the chat, of course. I mean, you got to feel for Nick. He took this challenge by Whitz Racing Products to start at the back for $15,000 extra. He was doing perfect. He saw the race get single file. He saw the ability for this to be the time that he could move forward, pick cars off methodically, not take excessive risk, and still gets caught up in a wreck. And we're going to get a replay here, guys.
Wow.
Take a look at this. This starts with Will Rogers. Again, Landon, we've talked about, he entered high, got up into the wall, tried to save it for the whole corner, and just couldn't. And he loops it around in front of the field. They try to get woed up behind him, and there's Ottinger, along with Caden Rush and others. Nowhere to go.
And so one of the things that we need to note is these cars going as fast as they do are really hard to stop as we get this onboard here with Nick. So you see that car up there, and I mean, you're going so fast, and he's also doing the deal where he's looking in his mirror for cars that are approaching him really quickly. So you're trying to avoid them. As we see, the entire field is definitely going to be coming down pit road. That is just such a hard thing to do because you are watching the mirror, plus trying to stop Landon, and these cars just do not stop that well because they're going so fast.
Yeah, unbelievable. Let's see some pit stops here. That's Overland. Jake Nichols coming in. I mean, 4 tires for everybody at this point, don't you think?
Definitely.
Yeah.
You see that?
We watched the pit stops. Get you a list of drivers involved in this wreck, along with Will Rogers, Nick Ottinger, Timmy Holmes involved, Dylan Alt involved, Caden Rush involved, and there's a couple others involved here as well as we look tight and paddle off of pit road between Cassill and Alfala. Another vehicle involved, Daniel Roper, was involved in this crash as well. So a handful of cars with damage, but one of them terminal in the form of Nick Ottinger, and it's just such a shame. Methodically working his way up, and that shot at $15,000 is gone.
Yeah, that is. I see a lot of people saying you got to feel for him, and you do. I mean, there's just so much opportunity, and this early. You know, it's one thing if we get 150 laps in this deal, and that happens, and he's up there fighting for the front. That's racing. But this early on the race, doing everything right and getting caught up in a wreck that, happened in a way that, normally if you're, if you're in cars doing 180, 170, you probably have a chance to slow down. But going 220 miles an hour, that's a really tough thing to do.
Well, I got to update my my top 5 because I had Ottinger in them. So
I did too. I did.
I got to update that.
Hey,
remember, you can update your lineup, so don't be ashamed to do that.
Yeah, I lost about 3,000 points by having an update. But we're watching Garrett Smithley right here. So he's showing him the leader. That is not the case. He missed his pit box going down pit road. Why is it so hard to pit here at Daytona, Landon? I don't get it. Why is it so tough?
It's hard to see your pit box. I mean, they're all, especially when you have 42 cars come down pit road at the same time. It's just really hard to see your pit box. So there's Garrett. Looks like his pickers talking to each other while they're just waiting for service. But
should be working on the car.
Garrett,
what are they doing?
Driving the Whitz machine. Glad we could get with some exposure there. We'll see a lot of Garrett Smithley later tonight, though.
He'll work his way.
He's just around back now.
Yeah, he in the. For those that remember and were joining us for the prelims, he's one of the few people on that whole set of races that took 2 tires, made it work. He's not afraid. So Garrett's willing to hang it all out there and see if he can steal some track position. I'm sure he'll find it later in the race.
Let's see who's what do we got? How many picks we have for these drivers? So Alfala up top is clearly head over heels 152. So 152 people picked Alfala in their top 5. It's pretty leveled out from there. Overland was 69. That's pretty nice.
That is nice.
Cassill. Jimmy Bullis with 34 picks. He's clear back in 20th. So he needs to get some work done. Keister. How about Brotherton? This. Underdog, only 3. Bowden, only 3 picks. I mean, I'd say that any one of those drivers in the top 5 is going to pay off for a couple people.
Very well
it's
could.
It's too late to make your picks, by the way. If you just
never too late.
You just get into the race. Make your picks. Check in. Authenticate your Twitch account. Pick your top 5. At least you don't have to pick Nick Ottinger.
Here we go. Back to green flag racing. Alfala out in front. Cassill leading the outside lane. Again, a huge jump for Alfala. Gets away really nice. Jake Nichols now up into the 2nd position. Overland falls in line behind him. Kyle Putz now up into the top 5 with Adam Gilliland pushing him. Cassill by himself in that 3rd position. Now will drop down to pick up that inside lane.
Parker, I got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
With Nick Ottinger out of the picture now, what do you think that does to the mindset to the entire rest of the field at this point?
Well, I wondered if they, especially the ones in the front, if they even were cared, right? They weren't going to think about him until he got up there. So for most of them, it was a afterthought. Yeah, he's in the race. Yeah, he's taking that first challenge, but I'm not going to see him at least for 50 laps, right? You think you'd go probably a whole pit cycle. Now that he's out, I think for a guy like Ray Alfala, he's thinking, all right, there's one guy I knew if he got to the front, I would have to beat. And for most of these top 10, they knew they would have to beat him. So he's, I think for those guys, takes a little bit of knowing that he's not in it anymore. And we should remind people, there's no resets. That's a big part of this. So you don't have a reset in this race. You've got to protect that car, take care of it. And if you do get a little damage, these cars are pretty durable. They can get fixed and hang in the draft, but you want to keep it clean.
Well, I'm a little disappointed. We were robbed of seeing green flag pit stops for the first time. But again, that unknown still remains at this point. Perhaps we'll see it next time by. And again, it was a topic of discussion amongst many drivers that I talked to leading into tonight was the unknown of green flag pit stops. What your braking point is to get that car woed down to pit road speed when you have to get on the binders. And with worn tires, that braking zone only gets longer as there's not enough grip to slow this car down from 220 miles an hour. Very tricky thing to do. I imagine that's been a part of every driver's practice routine coming into this race, but until we see it in action, I imagine we'll have at least one person not quite get it right, but you hope that one person who misses it doesn't just plow into the back of everybody who does.
Yeah, and that guy in front is hoping the same thing. So this, I want to see green flag stops because I think it'd be a lot of fun to watch these drivers navigate that and try to avoid each other. Because we got another predictor up. What, will the race stay green till the end of lap 32? Oh, well, that's not hard.
Easy for you to say. You're up here in the booth.
Yeah, and they're about to throw the 5-second timer on this thing. So get your pick in. It's worth 150 points. Oh, is it big?
I know what I picked. I think these drivers are still in it for the long haul. You know, we're not in a cautions scenario quite yet. I think we're going to still see some conservative racing. But, I mean, just like we saw a few minutes ago with that first wreck, those more laps you got on these tires, the slicker these cars get, they're going to be tougher and tougher to drive no matter how good these guys are. Looks like DeMerchant kind of working the outside. There's Kyle Busch with a little bit of right front damage.
So that damage, though, probably looks worse than it is because we've seen this a lot, right? These right fronts get peeled back a little bit. This car is durable, and it's like the COT from back in the day where they were boxes, they were tanks. You could, knock them into things, get away with it, and continue going. Right now, Kyle is running in 26th position. So he's actually made spots up. Obviously, some of that is the wreck that happened, but he's finding himself towards, getting closer to the top half of the field. And hanging on the draft, I think that damage is not as detrimental, and he'll definitely have more chances with pit stops to get it fixed even more.
Yeah, I mean, that yellow is exactly what Kyle needed to kind of get a not a reset. Kyle opened the wall. That's tough. These cars are just getting slicker and slicker down the straightaway. I couldn't tell whose bumper that was that he came off of.
So everything I just said, David.
How durable?
I had to say it.
Yeah, that was great.
That was Dan Roper that was behind him. That was Dan Roper who was behind him pushing, and all it takes is one time of buzzing that right rear tire. You get it really hot, and all of a sudden you really lose a lot of drive, especially on these straightaways, and you have to sort of back it way down to cool those tires off a little bit to get it back under control. And it looked like Daniel Roper was simply just trying to help push Kyle along. Wasn't quite lined up, was on the left rear quarter panel, which is a terrible place to try and push. Not intentional, but when you push on that left rear, it's just going to turn that car in front of you to the right. And that's what we saw there. But Kyle back in the 30th position. Still got a race car under him. So, that's the good news for him there. Give you a few other updates. Marcus Ruckman back in the 43rd position. 19 laps off the pace, not connected to the server currently. Blake Cisneros also 11 laps down, not connected to the server. Christopher Weil had his technical issues earlier in the race, 10 laps down in 41st. Nick Ottinger sitting in the pits trying to effect repairs, but effectively out of this race. And Caden Rush also swept up in that crash. On track in 39th, 3 laps down right now. So let's get Nick Ottinger in here. There he is. Nick Ottinger swept up in the first wreck of the day. We were just talking about you starting from last, going for that $15,000 payday, Nick. It just went wrong out of turn 2. What did you see from your spot?
It just went wrong, man. I mean, someone was spinning, and they caught it for a quick second, hit the apron, went back up, went back down, went back up, went back down. It's so hard to slow these things down when you're going 220 miles an hour in the middle of the corner. It's just way of the road, man. Can't be mad at it. Just, we had a fast car, had a fast Logitech G machine, and really wasn't pushing the issue to get up there. Just want to get a little bit better spot for pit stops, and just wrong place, wrong time.
Nick, we went on board. We heard how much you were lifting. How slick was it? And it looked like, when cars were single file there, you were sort of just picking them off one by one. Were you confident that was the right time to start moving forward because they were single file?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even. I mean, it was. I think still the right call to go. It's so hard to tell where that one car was going to go. It's just racing at the end of the day. I mean, he legit went from top to bottom quite a few times. It's just hard to predict that. And it's plate racing and you're going 220. I mean, these cars were slick on entry, and these guys were just, I mean, some of them were just overshooting the entry. It's just, the car is that good just to stick to the bottom. So, you know, it sucks to put all that time in the event, but hey, you know, it's fast, it's all I can ask for.
Nick, we appreciate you, man. You did a wonderful job. You know, we'll have the Firecracker again. If we did this challenge again, would you take the challenge again?
Yeah, 100%. I would do it 3, 4, 5 times in a row. It does not matter. I love competing, and if I have to come from dead last like I did Tuesday and tried it tonight, it's just an added challenge. I like it.
Awesome. One more thing, Nick. You got a lot of racing ahead of us. What do you see out there? Who do we need to watch? I know you have more teammates in the field. Give us some insight on what's going on the track right now.
So these short runs, I mean, I noticed in practice, the cars like Cassill, Nichols, and Fallon, that whole group, they have a lot of straight line speed. But that straight line speed goes away after 5 to 6 laps, and handling starts to come into it. And then the cars of like 57 to Merchant, I mean, they're going to have a lot of, you know, handling that's actually going to be really good in the corners. And Boost is going to be really solid, and Smithly, and it's going to be a toss-up. I mean, you got to figure out how these pit strategies are going to go and who wants to work with each other. But if I had to bet for a short run, I would bet for Alfala and the guys. But for a long run, I would definitely bet for
Good pick right there. Nick, I know after last night's race from Las Vegas, I jokingly tweeted in reply about winning the 18K tonight might perk you up a bit. I hope you don't feel that I cursed you.
I don't know. I need to get you out on track to race with you for awesome time now.
That's only fair. That's only fair, Nick. Wish we weren't talking to you this early, but appreciate your insight and everything that you do for our sport here. We appreciate your sportsmanship and taking a moment to talk with us after an early exit from the Carnomaly 500.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate you guys putting this event on. This is one of the biggest events for sim racing as a whole, and you guys are just getting started. So yeah, I can't wait till the Firecracker 400 later this year. Maybe get the boss man to go do that with me, so I can show him who's boss when it comes to iRacing.
There you go.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
There you go. Nick Ottinger had a chance at a $15,000 payday. Comes up short in the early goings. A huge disappointment there, but a class act through and through. A great interview. And you could hear it. I mean, you could hear he was sad about it, but he's taking it in stride, realizing he had a great car, and it was just something out of his control that took him out of this one.
And you mentioned it, great sportsmanship. You know, he had all the opportunity in the world to, you know, maybe say some bad things about some of the other competitors and what they did there, but he's a true sportsman. He's a great advocate for sim racing, so dedicated to it. Obviously, the champ of the NASCAR series. I like, you know, the sim racing world is better for having Nick Ottinger in it, and I just love watching him compete in these big events like this. And I thought he was doing all the right things. It sounded like he had a great, really fast car that was handling really well, and came up short. But look forward to seeing him back in the Firecracker 400, guys.
All righty, let's bring Kim Kuhn in for a report from pit road.
Thanks. Well, you heard Nick Ottinger talk about handling and how the longer we stay on those tires, the more the handle issues pop up. And just to note a few, we talked about Kyle Busch, that early spin within 20 laps of racing. Well, he didn't suffer major damage, but he's having major handling issues. He noted both in and out of traffic, that car just does not want to do anything that he's telling it to with his inputs. Also, James Gibson noting that after about 8 laps, just uncontrollable understeer. He's obviously an open wheel fan, so that car tight, not wanting to turn when he hits the corners, and said it in fact drives like a dumpster fire. So these cars are just incredibly hard to wrestle on the track right now. We'll see if drivers can keep up with the changing track conditions, and if the cooling track temperatures as we move into nighttime maybe helps some of those handling issues.
Great point, Kim. And the most interesting part to me about that, what Kyle Busch is fighting, is I believe he is on that setup that Nick Ottinger described, Ray Alfala and Overland, those guys being on. And so obviously that thing is really trimmed out, Landon. It's really set up for speed down the straightaway, which means it's really hard to handle in the corners. And when you're fighting a car that's bad outside of traffic and then is bad in traffic, it just means it's way worse in traffic if it's already bad. So we saw him get super loose there, tag the wall. He's really fighting that thing. He's going to have to try and make some big adjustments in the pits if he wants to get back in this.
Yeah, I mean, it's slick right now, but I mean, one driver I know is going to have a close setup is Kyle's. Brian Blackford's running P13 right now. Obviously worked his way up from basically 40th. So we're seeing a lot of parity in the field now. You can see the sun is starting to set off of turn 4. The sun's definitely in the driver's eyes off of turn 4, so that's a bit of a challenge. You know, pretty soon we should see the track starting to change some conditions. The track temp is still 73 degrees right now.
An ever-evolving environment here from the World Center of Racing. A little note there, Michael Cozy Jr. had a brush with the wall, and it took him outside of the top 15, dropped him back down to 20th. A little bit of damage now to the right side of the 99. As we take a look at it, high up the track, tries to keep it up there, tries to hold on to it, fighting all the way through the corner. Lucky to not sustain more damage there. Drivers on their toes to bypass him. Sean Butler, Jimmy Mullis going 3 wide, bringing Brotherton with him there on that replay. But a close call there from Michael Cozy Jr. As I look at the car, right front damage for sure, a little bit of right rear as well. Going to have to effect some repairs to that next time he comes down pit road, but that was tight.
Oh, real tight off of turn 4. That Sean Butler there in the Penzo machine right in the middle, thread the needle between them. So that was really tight. And we've seen that outside lane. If you enter too high, you are on a beeline for the wall. It just sucks you in. And we'll see that outside lane probably come in more as we get the sun down and it starts to get a little bit more grip on the outside, because we've seen the daytime races really want you to just be on that bottom groove. It's tough to make that top lane work, but as it gets to nighttime, that outside lane sort of opens up a little bit, allows you to take a little wider entries in the corner and actually get the run off the corner. Right now, we're definitely not seeing that. It's a death sentence being out there.
Yeah, I found myself that you want to lift or make your lift early before the car goes into the banking transition. It's almost like when the car goes into the banking transition, it starts to load the right front. You've already lost the right front. It's going to get tight up to the wall. So you want to make your lift before while the track is still flat. And then it almost like load the right rear in the banking, and that's how you just keep it turning outside lane.
So how many green flag laps have you done here?
I was just going to ask that. David's the one. David usually knows our window here. Because we've got we're looking at like a 30-32 lap window. I don't know if the drivers will push it all the way, and then obviously, you know, short pitting
Been about 20 laps.
Crazy. So we've got 20 laps.
Just over 20 laps.
We're about 6 to 9 laps to a pit, to a green flag pit stop right now. 6 to 9.
We went green. Starting lap 25, I believe, is when we went back to green when we got our restart. So as we start lap 47, it's been a shade over 20 laps on this run, as mostly single file all the way through. Brandon Cattell, meanwhile, has taken over the lead. Want to touch on that as they come up on the wounded machine of Dylan Alt, who is staying high up against the wall, and the field should be able to bypass him, hopefully without too much incident here, as we're going to have guys thinking about that first green flag pit stop, hopefully. I want to see it. I want to see it.
We need to see
it right now.
Give us green flag stops. Come on.
Hey, you know what would be even better is just 1 or 2 of them in a row. I mean, to really see. I'm nervous for these drivers if they're making a first green flag pit stop, because I've had a lot of guys tell me how hard it is to get off of turn 4 to get onto pit road. So it's going to be tough. Making sure you don't speed, don't have a penalty, is going to be a challenge. That's Kane Cook.
A lot of shuffling right
the
there.
Yeah.
Kane Cook and Overland going at it with Blake Reynolds and Seth DeMerchant as well. A lot of aggressive driving there. Is again, it's all about getting those runs. You get those runs down the straightaway, and you want to try and make a move, and you see them sort of snaking back and forth on the straightaway here, and you're at that point right before pit stops, Parker, where you're at the minimum grip that you've had the entire run. So sometimes your car just gets away from you. You're not even trying to move around. The car just moves around because you have so little grip.
Right, and when you know you're going for a green flag stop, you're trying to maybe get in a position where you're a little closer to your teammates, so we start to see the aggression pick up a little bit. You want to be closer to them. You also might be thinking, hey, if I can get a few more cars. Oh, Chris Overland shoots to the bottom there. he loves those moves like that. Basically, you start to think, like, maybe if I can get a couple of cars here, I'm in a better position for the green flag stops because I'm giving myself that little bit of buffer. If there's a mistake or if I'm, a little bit further up in the pack, I know I'm not going to lose the draft if I'm a little slower in the pits. So those sorts of things start to be where you start to work yourself forward, thinking, all right, this is going to pay off as Overland goes a little high. Oh, King Kirk! That worked.
Great move there.
Oh,
Overland with a big block down the backstretch now, trying to protect, but he's middle 3 into turn 3, dropping like a rock, Overland.
Well, you see how much momentum that cost him with that little shakeup there from Kane Cook. Automatically goes to the defense to try and defend against Blake Reynolds. Couldn't do it. And you see how far back he falls from where he was. One move like that can really send a driver backwards. But again, as we approach green flag pit stops, this is the most intense racing we've seen. You'd think it'd be the other way around when they have fresh tires. They'd be aggressive, not when they're at the end of this cycle.
I was just going to say that we've seen a lot of patience up to this point. But I do think that right before a green flag pit stop, and we're seeing it, so maybe I'm just trying to make myself look like a genius or something, this is a great time to push because you want to get that track position. I mean, Parker was just saying it. You want to get a little track position. You want to give yourself another half a second or second cushion if you can over some cars behind you because you've got to come back down. You got to come down pit road. You got to get the car woed down. And it would just be nice to be at a tail of a line. So, I probably, if I'm 6 or 7 laps away from my stop, I'm going to cool my tires for just a little bit and then make a 3-lap push to get everything I can out of them right before I have to stop.
I was just tweeting that you are trying to look smart again.
That's okay. I'm curious, though. I mean, is this going to be the type of thing that we see at other big tire fall-off racetracks like Atlanta or Darlington, where when one comes down pit road, it drags everybody else down pit road, Parker?
I think it is because you can't be out there too long, right? You'll lose seconds. They'll be seconds faster with the newer tires, especially if a group of them pit. They get organized, get in a line, and really start to rip off fast laps, just like we see in real life. You want to be with your teammates, you want to be organized and be able to get in that line and go. And if you stay out there more than just a couple laps, you'll lose a ton of time.
You like big movers? We talked about one earlier. I got another one for you, and it shouldn't come as any surprise. It's the driver of the number 10 Smithfield Ford. Graham Bolin started 34th, now currently in the 6th position, just bypassed Jake Nichols and is on the back bumper of Blake Reynolds. Great drive so far from Graham Bolin, working his way to the front as we're probably within a lap or so of those green flag pit stops.
He was an impressive rookie in the eNASCAR series last year, moved from Joe Gibbs over to Stuart Haas Esports. Now right on the back there of another eNASCAR driver, Blake Reynolds, in that beautiful McLaren Shadow car. I just love their cars. Everyone knows that. Anyone who's been watching, I love those things. So I think we're starting to hear some of the radios light up. The chats are happening. Green flag pit stops are definitely about to happen.
Let's see. It's going to be Aaron Smith. First one coming down pit road. We'll see if he has anybody else coming with him. We talk about pitting in the pack and having friends to pit with you. Nobody from the front so far. So perhaps just trying to get that last little bit stretched as far as you can on fuel as Aaron Smith, Dylan Alt come to pit road. But up front, so far, still single file.
I think you really only need 1 or 2 partners to come with you down pit road if you're that worried about it. For me in real life, if I don't have any dancing partners for a green flag pit stop, I just keep a really close eye to the drivers in front of me, and I go with whoever's right in front of me. So, but with these cars, they draft really well with just 2 or 3 cars. Kyle Putz, I think, is pitting on this lap, or maybe next time by.
So, Landon, you bring up a great point. So, in real life, how do we know others are pitting, right? Because we always have the deal where we're seeing their hand go out the pit road or, go off the side, out the window, and they're doing one of these moves. If I can get it in the camera, they're doing one of these moves out, waving their hand, telling people, hey, I'm pitting. In iRacing, it's everyone keying up on the voice chat suddenly saying, hey, I'm pitting off turn 4. Hey, I'm pitting off turn 4. And that's when you start to hear them lighten up the voice chat. They do that so that you don't run them over, basically like a spotter telling the others. and then you know, oh, they're all pitting. I can make this move as well.
I mean, we're still. Oh, now we've got some takers now. That's Blake Reynolds.
Blake Reynolds. Oh, no. That's not going to be good for Blake Reynolds as he slides. I don't know if he's going to be too fast. Oh, boy. That's a hot entry from Blake Reynolds as he comes pretty much by himself here into his stall. The driver for McLaren Shadow. A little bit deep in the box, too.
Oof. He had the fronts locked for a solid second or 2 seconds trying to slow down. That tells me I don't think he got down to pit road speed in time. So we can look back at the leaders. Now they've seen others in pit. Who's have pitted? Who's going to be the next to make a move here to get down pit road?
Here they come, all the leaders. All the leaders coming. Cassill locks them up. Everybody gets in. Wow, they all made it. Unbelievable.
The whole field on the same lap. I mean, the whole lead pack at least. That's our whole. Look at our whole pylon. The top 20 basically all pitting.
All slide into the boxes.
Cody Jr. deep in his box, missed it a little bit. Easy to make that mistake. These cars just don't stop that well.
No, they don't. And, you know, pit road's always hard in super speedways. It's just the nature of them. But
Blake Reynolds did get a penalty for speeding. He was held in his box. That's why he's exiting just in front of Ray Alfala. So Blake Reynolds, who came from the top 5, speeding on pit road, that's a big mistake you can't afford to make.
And then this right here, getting off pit road. It's incredibly tough. These things have 900 horsepower. They're not set up to be on the flat. You're sliding around. Qualifying, we saw you wanted to drift the car on the exit 2 there on the apron. That's a really tough thing to do, but you got to do it fast. As we see Garrett Maines here on pit road.
Maines taking his service. As Ray Alfala leads Seth the Merchant off pit road of that lead group, Colin Keister will be 3rd in line with Nichols, Cassill, Bolin, and then Colin Bowden as everybody cycles through this first round of green flag pit stops here. Approaching lap 60 next time by. An excellent job executing on pit road, Landon. That is, we talked about keys to the race early on. We didn't talk about that. Getting on and off of pit road, as Parker highlighted, is certainly one of those keys.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough one. You know, I don't know now. The field looks a little more spread out, but it's going to accordion just a little bit. It's going to close just a little bit as we did get confirmed that Blake Reynolds did speed on pit road. I think there was a couple other penalties there. But I think the field's going to accordion back together just a little bit. We'll see another 25, 30 laps and maybe do it all over again. It'll be interesting to see if any drivers can start using this strategy to leapfrog each other. If someone short pits a little bit or can wedge themselves from a 15th place run into the top 5.
Another driver sped on pit road, Garrett Maines. Parker, you were talking about him. He also sped on pit road too fast. But Alfala now reassumes the point. Second car in line behind Ray Alfala is Blake Reynolds, who was the other speeding party on pit road. First car lap down back in 35th.
We just saw another car there. I believe it was someone going a lap down, got into the wall. I think the Darlington stripe has a new friend, and that is the Daytona stripe here in the Carnomaly 500. The Carnomaly stripe, because it seems like any time a car is in that outside lane just a little too high, they find the wall. They knock the right side off. So many cars have the right side beat off. You see the one right here. That white Carnomaly car also has the right side beat up.
Look out the back.
Carnomaly stripe.
I like that. As we look at the Valvoline onboard, looking out the back of Brian Blackford, currently in the 15th position. Good little drive for Blackford. Remember, he started pretty deep in the field as well. Started back in the 38th position. Now up into the top 15.
Remember, Brian said he was going to ship it on anybody he sees that he knows took his setup from him. So, no, we did not manufacture that drama. Trust me, with racers, they create their own drama. So,
and we appreciate it.
We do appreciate it. Now that we're in the promoter business, right, Parker?
Yeah, exactly. We didn't put it past us, but no, we didn't manufacture it.
And even if we did, we wouldn't tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
I love seeing the flames come out of the exhaust. It's so cool just knowing those cars are
Oh, we
lit.
got a spinner. No, Christopher Weil gets nailed. Gets nailed by Kyle Putz in the middle of 1 and 2. Christopher Weil, all kinds of problems. That's a car that's 11 laps down, and he gets absolutely destroyed by Kyle Putz. Oh, no, that is a tough one right there.
There goes another one of my top 5 predictor picks.
Yeah, me too. That's a tough one.
We'll get the replay here. Who does that help? I'm looking at Kyle Busch, who was the tail end of the lead lap. He was going to be looking at going a lap down. You see him there right now on the screen. Christopher Weil going by him on the outside. That car's beat up, but this gives him a chance to stay on the lead lap, maybe get some more damage repair done under caution. And there's Kyle Putz in the 31 car. Right side damage, guys. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look too bad.
We'll look at the replay here again. Weil trying to stay out of the way. 11 laps down, gets up in the fence. Bounces back down and nails him with the right front.
Nah, his steering could be knocked out right now, for sure.
Yeah, that's a hard hit on the right front there, and just a situation that you absolutely hate to see. You hate for anyone to get into that, but right after the contact, Putz onto the radio, just absolutely exasperated at that whole situation.
That's tough.
Let's go on board.
Take a look from Kyle Putz is on board.
No, nothing. I mean, nothing he can do. Nothing.
He's in the gas at that point. I mean, it's just too bad.
These cars will not. I don't care if you nailed the brake there and hung a left as hard as you could. You weren't going to be able to avoid that. So that's just unlucky timing. Wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, we're coming back down pit road.
I would assume so. I'd say anything more than 2 laps, and you're going to want 4 fresh tires on these things. So it's still pretty light out. It's still slicker than it will be as we get later in this race. So you're going to want as much grip as possible. I'd be curious to know if we can find out from the pits maybe how much damage Kyle Putz really has, what kind of length of damage he has on that car. Kind of give us an indication how hurt it is.
Let's see. I'm taking a look at this thing now. I mean, there's a lot of right side damage to the number 31, the Kyle Putz machine. The right front fenders push up over the tire. The front fascia is all smashed in. The splitter's broken, or the spoiler rather is broken on the right hand side. All the damage on the right side. If you looked at it from the left side, you say, "Wow, that's a great looking race car on the driver's side," but you went around the other side. It's pretty well used up.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if he is able to at least get some damage repair and see how wounded it is, because the draft does help. I mean, I hate to harp on it, but these cars have a way of just running in the draft with a bit of damage and getting away with it. Are you going to win the race? No, but hey, wait a second. He's back out there.
Hey, what a sportsman.
They got it repaired up. He decided, I'm going to turn some laps.
It's about 30 minutes to drop a new engine in one of these virtual machines. And well, I guess that tells you how long it's been since he had his accident. So nice to see Ottinger back out there. Again, sportsmanship award for the time being goes to him. 8 minutes of damage reported from the pits of Putz. Don't say that 5 times fast. 8 minutes of damage to the number 31 machine. Just so unfortunate.
Predictor's got a good question. Will we stay green for 6 laps? I think I want to frame this in another way too. I mean, have we gotten to a cautions part of the race yet? I mean, we're not even halfway to the race. This next stint could get us to halfway though if we don't have any.
I hope not. I hope we go green again for a little while. It's nice to see that. But we had a few wave around. Sean Butler gets waved around. Garrett Maines waved around. Dylan Alt takes the wave around as well. So that's 3 more cars added back onto the lead lap. That'll be 36 cars on the lead lap. Looks to be 6 cars more or less out of this race. Timmy Holmes, the lone car in 37th, 1 lap down right now.
For some of those wondering why, drivers may be trying to run a couple laps down, I think, one is if if you go 1 or 2, 3 laps down, there could be a lot of cautions. Find yourself getting back up through there. And also, the way we do these prize pools, it's $3,000 to win, but it pays $100 to start, and it sort of is pretty even all the way down through. So just 10 positions could be the difference between a couple $100. So it pays literally to find a way to try and continue gaining positions, even if you're a couple laps down.
I mean, for Ottinger, he stands to make up at least 3 positions. If he runs a handful of laps, he'll pass Will Rogers, Marcus Ruckman, and Caden Rush here before too long, and that'll move him up a few spots. So field gets ready for the restart here. Ray Alfala will lead him down. Seth DeMerchant once again in second. Cattell third. Nichols be that 4th position now up to 3rd, bypassing DeMerchant. It's been the same grouping of cars by and large up front as they all try to get simplified.
So the predictor closed right there as we got the green flag. I went with yes, guys. I think we make it 6 laps.
I think we will.
I went with yes.
I didn't even predict, but I think we will. We've seen it. I think every restart so far, right?
Yeah.
We haven't had a really short run.
You know, another, Parker, when you were talking about drivers getting back on the lead lap, I do think it's a little easier to get back on the lead lap in a race like this because every time the caution comes out, it's a no-brainer to come down pit road and get 4 tires. So you'll have so many opportunities at a wave around here.
That's a great point.
That the field rarely gets off sequence from each other. Even if they do, it's because of 2 tires versus 4 tires, not because someone's staying out.
Speaking of which, we saw Blake McCandless was way behind the field early on in the race. He is now running up in 13th. If you were looking down the backstretch there, you would have seen a white Dodge with assist on it. Right there on the outside, at the back of the shot there off of turn 4, that is Blake McCandless all the way up in the top 15. So, hey, maybe his strategy is working. We're now approaching halfway. He's worked himself in the top half of the field, trying to march forward.
You know, that's kind of interesting to me, though. He's making a charge here on the outside. I mean, if you're going to drop all the way back to the tail of the field, get out of the pack. Lap 69 we're on. That's when you choose to charge. I mean, I'm for it. I want to see someone go for the win every lap of the race. I think that's a good thing, but you know, to give up your track position and then not even halfway through charge back through the field, I don't know.
And I just got
a little nervous back there.
Well, I just got to say, my man Blake McCandless with the Valvoline bucket hat. It's got to be one of the winning photos we've had, headshots of the Carnomaly 500. Besides Colin Bowden's great, basically haircut he has, mullet. This is the next winner for me. So I love this this look. Whoa! Look at that run around the outside. He's getting that thing working real well.
I mean,
beautiful camera placement right there. Up above the door, just outside the window net for the driver's compartment. Candle's been quiet, but I you know, Landon, to your point, you talked about it. I think right now he might just be testing what he has. He was laying back, taking it easy, hasn't really put that car to work yet. Now he's a little bit further up the running order, feels a little more confident around the guys he's racing to really push this car to see what it's doing right now in these conditions, and he finds himself in that 11th position.
Who's that right in front of him? Jimmy Mullis, I believe, right in front of him. Right there in the 46 Sunoco car.
I mean, he wants the outside right now, Parker.
Yeah, he's using it. I mean, they're all checking up on the bottom. That can happen. A lot of times we see that. So if you got the car and you're making it work and you can get that runner on the outside, if they all start checking up on the bottom, especially if you can pinch them down, that right there through the tri-wheel, that's the hardest part on the outside. You've got to be able to try and carry as much momentum as possible. So tough through the tri-wheels. He goes way high up in 1 and 2. He'll lose that position to Jimmy Mullis.
Wow, and he's been hard on his tires these last few laps. Now he's going to be looking for a hole. But, I mean, with as good as that top was working for him just now, it's only going to get better from here as the sun goes down.
Definitely will. And he doesn't want the bottom. He's sticking up there.
Doesn't seem like he needs a little help down the straightaway, though. He needs some help just clearing this 10 car.
Hey, we stayed green for 6
Stayed green.
It's 200 points. Thank you very much. Count it.
No, it doesn't count. You don't count. Literally doesn't count for you, Parker.
Well, no, I played. I'm still trying to play just to beat Landon. We're not eligible for any of the prizes. I just want to beat Landon.
You know, I want to bring back something we talked about. We saw McCandless with that nice Valvoline bucket hat, and yet here I still sit with nothing.
We haven't got you a thing. You're gonna have another predictor. Yeah, Landon and I got our Valvoline cups. Where's yours? Oh, yeah, sorry.
Well, I don't know. Why don't you bring it with you this weekend to Vegas, and maybe you can just hand deliver it to me, along with that Truly that you owe me.
Deal.
Hey, is this field a little racier right now? I mean, I'm seeing a lot more. That move! That is Bolin basically shucking the air off of the spoiler of Brandon Cattell through 1 and 2.
And way at the back of the pack
stock
there, someone just got the wall off turn 2, kept it together. But this is an awesome battle lead. Ray Alfala finally succeeds the lead again. And we've seen this, right? This is just a couple laps into the run. This is when his car sort of goes away. We see him sort of concede the lead, and then we'll see if he takes another run at it, maybe in a couple laps, because his car comes back to him. It's tough to lead.
I mean, these cars, you know, you can really use the air against another driver. This move right here, Bolin on Ray, I mean, it's gonna get a guy really loose. And you want him to get loose and move up just so you can get around him, but you don't want him to get loose and then check up and stay right in that lane. I mean, that's just gonna check up the whole lane. You could really have a problem.
One thing I just noticed here is we're on this onboard. This is awesome to watch these cars move around so much through the tri-oval, just hanging on to that right rear. That sun's dropped below the grandstands, falling away. Oh, wow.
I've just been listening to the driver chatter myself as we look at all your picks on screen of who's going with who. Ray Alfala now 194 times he's been picked in chat, as Jake Nichols holds the lead down as we watch Bolin make a big move to the outside of Alfala. Side by side through 3 and 4. We talked about Graham Bolin all the way up from the 34th starting position, now fighting for second by himself on that outside lane.
And Bolin is tight on him. I mean, not a lot of room between him and Alfala. Just really trying to keep him pinched down. I mean, Alfala's car has got to be wrecking loose on the bottom right there.
Got DeMerchant in line with him, helping shove him along. Bolin's now going to make a play for the lead on the outside. Got a great run out at 2. Nichols not able to slide up and cover the spot. DeMerchant thought about 3 through the middle, thought better of it, decides to push Bolin ahead, and look at the surge as Bolin now will clear that car sliding, and he holds onto it. Put Graham Bolin to the top spot out of 4.
This is awesome racing. Cars wiggling around, a little bit of bump drafting down to turn 3 by DeMerchant to Bolin. Trying to give him just all the momentum he possibly can. Nichols fighting back on the bottom. They're going to clear Nichols.
Yeah, strong run out there. I think that, I mean, we talk in Landon, Parker, you'll appreciate this. We talk about cars that are good out front. We talk about cars that are good as pushers, right? Not necessarily how this package works at this track, but I think the concept still remains sort of the same. You look at some of these cars, and we heard a little bit of that from Nick Ottinger saying these cars seem to have good straight line speed. These cars seem to have good corner speed. As a driver, you got to pay attention to these things, especially running up front.
You do, and you got to note it, right? You've got to remember throughout these, 170 laps that you get towards the end. That's one of the things you do. Oh, is that Alfala up in the wall?
That was Alfala way up the hill. Along with Cattell, they hold on to it. That really stacked up that lead pack.
He does get away with it. I don't think he quite touched it, maybe just tapped it. But the thing you do in Super Speedway racing is you're just taking notes constantly. You're putting it in your notebook. You're seeing what cars do well, what other cars don't do well, and you're sort of noting those things because it really, the way I look at it is you're always trying to put yourself in position for that last pit stop. After the last pit stop is the time to go. It's the time to be the leader. Until then, you're just learning. You're plotting. You're understanding what the other cars are doing. Those are the things that if you know really well, you get past that last pit stop, you're in position, and that might be the difference of making the right move or saving your tires just a tick longer because you know that car in front of you is going to fall away in a couple laps. It's those things that make the difference between winning and losing.
Well, and if you want to talk about taking notes, that move that Graham Bolin made to get to the lead, there's 10 drivers behind him that saw that happen, that took note and saw him charge through 2 rows of cars on the outside. and the move that he made, pinching Ray Alfala down, using the air to get Brandon Cattell loose, who looks to be, falling back a little bit. Cattell back to 9th right now. So this is, we're getting into the run now again where the balance is going away on these drivers.
Hey, guys, I see a car. It's about towards the back of this lead pack. It's white. It has a 51 on the side. Rowdy Energy. He has worked himself into the top 20s. We've got a caution on track.
Caution on the track. That's contact between Timmy Holmes and James D. Gibson into turn 1, and James Gibson got absolutely tackled going into turn 1. And James D. Gibson is the losing party in that one, along with David L. Brown, sustaining a lot of damage to the front end of his machines. We look at the replay. This going into turn 1. That's Timmy Holmes on the bottom, absolutely turning James D. Gibson around. David Brown nowhere to go in the Nexus machine as well.
And I hate to see that for James D. Gibson. He signed that sponsored Club Jerky on for this race. Last moment there. Cool to see them come on board. James is a good kid, 17 years old, put a lot of effort into this, and I think that other car had to be on newer tires.
The unfortunate thing about that, Timmy Holmes was the only car one lap down. He stood to benefit from a free pass if the caution came out, but since he caused that one, he's not going to get it.
No, sir. Not allowed.
That's a bummer. James's car, I don't know how bad it looked. It didn't look too bad. We got a pit predictor up here. What do you think? Here's a freebie for you.
Yeah,
What's Graham Bolin going to do? What's Graham Bolin going to do? 2 or 4?
If you get this wrong, you haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, 5 seconds to just get your free 75 points. We'll see what Bolin does. Gibson's car, his sponsor, I think they're giving away some jerky if he wins the race, so he's maybe one to root for anyways. Get him back in the field.
I love beef jerky.
Me too. I could go for some right now. I usually keep a fair supply, but I haven't restocked in a while.
I always get beef jerky, and I eat way too much of it. So, look, 4 tires. Oh, one was
give me
spun
the
in
money.
there.
4 tires.
Yeah, there's your 75.
David Brown spun around on pit road. Contact from Dylan Alt as they try to get into their box there.
He then swung it
from bad to worse for David Brown.
Yeah, and he swung it around in quite a cool fashion as well, right back into
Let's see what happened here. Getting into pit road, you can see right when they hit the line, it looks like the 42 kind of launched it in on him.
There's a point on pit road where you can no longer make contact with cars, and that's when you're in the boxes. Dylan Alt was not quite in the boxes, and so David Brown trying to get to his, they make contact. Just if you're David Brown, you just got in that wreck for something you had nothing to do with. Then you're just bringing it back to pit road to get your repairs done, move on with your life, and then you get spun out on pit road. If you got a pillow, you're punching that thing right now.
It's just pouring salt on the wound. Best way to put it. But I liked how he got back in the box, though. I thought that was pretty nifty. Little move there. Yeah. What's that iRacing video where that guy spun it into pit lane at Lime Rock or whatever, right? Perfectly in the pits. Got like 2.5 million views on Twitter.
That was perfect.
Yeah, that was awesome. I love that.
Could give me 100 attempts at that, I still wouldn't get it.
No. I think it's why it got 2.5 million views. Couldn't believe it.
What do we have to do to get 2.5 million views? I know we're close. We're like halfway there, but how do we get the other half?
Definitely halfway there. That's a given. So,
Do I have to start singing? I'll start singing if I have to.
Probably, or if you could just start spinning cars while broadcasting into pit lane perfectly into your pit stall.
If I had that kind of power, trust me, I'd be using it.
Got it. Okay. All right, guys.
Well, let's say we got some stories from pit road.
Yeah.
Let's bring it into Kim. See what we got going down on pit road.
Hey guys, well, we've talked a lot about keeping up with the racetrack and the drivers who set up their cars to handle well during the race when we wind down those laps, when we get closer to the checkered flag, and when the track conditions have changed, when they're going to change and then kind of plateau a little bit once it cools off. Well, one of those drivers is Brian Blackford, and he really wanted his car to drive well late after the sun goes down. And right now in Daytona Beach, sun's starting to go down, so we'll have to keep an eye on him as well as some of those other drivers. Because remember, we had that Brian Blackford drama before qualifying even started. He had updated his setup for the race on a shared server and forgot to stop syncing with his old teammates. So he may be setting up for later in the race, but those guys that have the shared setup also might be using that same setup on their cars.
All right. Thank you, Kim.
I like that.
Lot going on.
Yeah, and that shot of the crew guys having a very aggressive chat right there.
What do you think they're saying right now?
Well, they're
shouldn't they be working on the car?
Guys, we're going green. We're going green. Let's see this restart.
I like those guys.
Graham
Bolin, your leader for the restart here. DeMerchant, who is outside. It seems like DeMerchant's been on the outside of the front row for every restart. It's Nichols, it's Gilliland, Kane Cook, Ray Alfala, Colin Bowden up into the top 5 as well. Blake McCandless in the top 10 alongside Overland. 2x2 on fresh tires. Let's see how long this one lasts.
I felt like we turned it up just a little bit on that last restart. Really turn it up a little bit more here.
Just getting closer to halfway, knowing the pay window's open. They want to lead. They know it. They know that sun's setting. It's starting to get down to the point where you want to have that track position. Oh, they get real close there. That Overland.
Overland and Bowden real close through the tri-oval. Overland made a big move there to the inside. Made it stick, and you couldn't have oh boy, I can't say that. You couldn't fit a piece of paper between the two of those cars. That's how excited I am. I almost said a naughty word.
Naughty word. Oh no, the track tip is going down just like Kim said. I mean, I had said we were at 75, 76 earlier. We're down to the air is down to 64. The track is down to 69. So it's definitely coming into the favor of the drivers that were planning for later in the race.
I was going to say fit a sheet of paper, and well, got crossed wires and oh
feet.
Boy.
Okay. Not a feet, a sheet.
Not a feet, a sheet.
There's my man. Look at that headshot. Guy. Connor Daly's favorite racer in the Carnomaly 500. Awesome.
Look at Blake McCandless zooming around the outside one more time.
Ooh. Gets so tight off turn 4. There, Alfala, McCandless, so close to touching doors.
The aggression definitely feels like it's gone up, Landon, to your point. It feels a lot more aggressive right now.
The tempo is definitely picking up. Between Bolin making passes on the outside, McCandless making charges on the outside, we're going to start seeing more side-by-side racing as drivers can see what it's capable of. And Blake, he's got something figured out on how to drive the outside. Blake's put a lot of time in his car. I mean, I wouldn't count him. I wouldn't put it past him that he's practicing these moves, just knowing that might be a race-winning move.
Remember, that's how Bolin got the lead away from Jake Nichols not too long ago, so perhaps McCandless says, all right, I'll try it myself, see how my car handles it. Back there for that 5th position with Nichols. Single file for the first 4 cars ahead of him. Adam Gilliland is taking the lead away. DeMerchant, Bolin, Kane Cook. And again, that side-by-side battle for 5th between Nichols and McCandless. Ralph Falla, Colin Keister, Colin Bowden, Overland, Cattell around that top 10 spot. Name we haven't mentioned yet tonight, Justin Bolton's worked himself up into that 12th spot. McCandless way out of shape there in the tri-oval, holds on to it. Perhaps the penalty for running that high side.
That right rear is begging for mercy right now on the 66. He's got to get that thing down to the bottom. It's obvious he wants to be up there because he's figured something out, but when you heat up that right rear like he just did, you're going to pay the price. And it's going to continually compound on itself. It's going to get worse. You're going to keep heating that thing up. You've got to take care of it now. Try and just cool it down for a couple laps. We go on the Valvoline on board. He's going to let these cars by. You can't push it. Once you heat up that right rear that much, you've got to give it time to come back.
Cozy bypasses him there for that 12th position. McCandless now just having to really chill out as he's under attack now from Nick Morse. Really nothing he can do other than just fade back right now and being on the high side. He's going to give a lot of room as Matt Busa will bypass him now in the Mode Media House machine. And so again, it's all about risk-reward, Landon, when you really push hard on that outside lane, and now McCandless knows what he can and can't get away with.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you were right earlier. I mean, even though he just lost 11 spots, I mean, maybe there's just some testing involved and just trying to get a feel for what it's going to take to clear drivers, trying to get a feel for what it's going to take to beat him to the line in case it's a head-to-head for the win at the end.
We go on board with Kyle Busch, the Valvoline onboard cam here, working down the Daytona super stretch. Back in the 19th position, been an up and down race. Kyle's already found the wall. He's been spun around, and yet he remains as we approach 8 laps to the halfway point. I think he's probably saying, I feel pretty lucky to be where I am right now.
He's got to be. I mean, going from where he started basically not last because Nick Ottinger dropped all the way to the back, but basically in last place and having a spin early, almost going a lap down. Now he's in the top 20. So, that tells you one of two things. Either he's really starting to figure it out, he's working his way through the field, or half the field is completely taking themselves out of the lead pack and does not want to mess with the lead pack at all. So Kyle's, at least he's making some kind of charge.
Well, let's think about what Kim Kuhn said earlier in the race about, what he was fighting inside that car. He had a setup that was bad by itself. It was hard to handle in traffic. I wonder if, he got some good changes during all these pit stops, a little bit of damage repair. See Blake McCandless still struggling on the outside. He's not going to give him a break. He's going to take that position. What if that car is just coming to him a little bit? It's obviously handling a little better. He's able to hold the bottom line. It's not getting super sideways, making headway.
Big moment for Brian Blackford there. Out of 2 is going to cost him a few positions as Kyle Busch will go below the yellow line to make a big aggressive move on Dan Roper. He's going to make it stick on the bottom too. Rowdy not taking any of it away. He's going places. He doesn't care where he has to drive to get there.
Well, knowing Kyle, he also knows that Roper was the one that had a little contact with him earlier, and I think he probably wasn't going to cut him any slack.
Yeah.
He remembered, you're saying. You don't become
Drivers
a
never
two-time,
forget, right?
Yeah, you don't become a 2-time NASCAR Cup Series champion without having some serious racing intelligence, I should say. And he knew exactly who got into him that last time.
It wasn't just Jimmy Spencer who doesn't forget, right? As Graham Bolin is now trying to fight for that lead to take it away from Adam Gilliland's got help from behind from Kane Cook. Jake Nichols in line there as well. 2 cars on the high side, Gilliland and DeMerchant. Those two had from the field for a handful of laps. We had not seen that this entire race as 2 cars broke away by about 5 or so car lengths from the rest of the field. Eventually they were reeled back in, but something interesting to note, the 2 cars were able to hook up and drive away by a little bit.
Look at this shot right now. Looking at Bolin and King Cook. Look how close they got. This is one of my favorite shots. So those of you who've been watching the Carnomaly 500 know I think this is so cool because we couldn't do this in real life, but we can in sim racing, on iRacing. Get a shot like this right off the front bumper. See how close these cars get. This would be impossible to have a drone do this. Oh, that is so tight.
It's just one of those classic, what's that old classic onboard where the guy's laying on the car holding the camera and shooting back at the driver? I think that is what's happening right now.
It would take a
Great
serious
shot
camera
there.
car to do this.
Great shots. Looking at Graham Bolin. Going to be a big run out of the corner here. Nichols shoots up high. What does Bolin do? Decides to stick with Kane Cook down the backstretch. And here comes Ray Alfalo, an early leader, back into the fray as well. That 3rd car on the inside lane.
I mean, every time we see a lead change and we see a new car up front, even though these guys have led laps before, you're going from just having a little dirty air on your nose to clean air on your nose, and the car just gets a lot looser, 10% looser or more, I felt like. And so it can be a little shocking. That's where you can see someone lead 1 lap as there's a whole lot of action into turn 1 there with Chris Overland. He's got his right rear up against the left front of, trying to see, that's Bowden.
Overland got
But, the
so
leader's
loose.
just going through a lot right now with a loose race car, I'm sure.
Yeah, and Overland just had a huge wiggle there under Bowden. I mean, I can't believe they didn't come together. I don't know how they did that. I think it was great awareness by Colin there to just sort of go up the track a little bit, because Overland had it was a big, long wiggle that just looked like it was going to end in disaster.
What I see right now is I watch these cars and I look at the energy and the runs that they get. The runs that they get towards each other into these corners are getting bigger and bigger, and they're really having to stuff the brakes a lot more as well, and that's leading to huge checkups and makes these cars scatter. And as they scatter down the backstretch, Kane Cook leading this field. Cars everywhere about going into 3. Kane Cook's going to hold on to it. Alfala to the outside, but I think that's what's creating a lot of this as well, as they're coming up on each other so quickly now as handling starts to go away, as we're probably about halfway through this fuel run.
Well, and they need to get organized here because we've got a lap car in front. They're side by side. You can see they quickly get into single file, or trying to at least, as they get around this lap car. They're just racing so hard. The harder they race, the more these tires are going to cycle with temps. They're going to see the temps go up really quickly, then they're going to be able to cool them down. You're going to have to give up a second a lap of speed to kind of cool your tires back down for 2 laps, make another charge 2 laps later. So that's where we see these positions cycling and just a lot of passing going on. That's what we love about this package. But they're halfway through a fuel run. So we might be getting to that point where drivers are positioning themselves for the best track position for potential green flag pit stop.
We look here at the front of Kane Cook and the fistful of bourbon machine. Let's throw it down to pit row with Kim Coon's got a report on driver activity, talking to one another about the racing they're seeing.
Yeah, and we can see it ourselves watching it. The driving up front getting racier, and drivers even describing it as sketchier. Now we see this in the Daytona 500 too. The later in the runs, the more the drivers want to see what their car can do, what kind of moves they can make, especially as we're halfway through this fuel run, setting themselves up for success later in the race. So we've already hit the point where drivers want to know what their car is capable of so they can possibly take the checkers when we hit lap 200 here at Daytona. And drivers are noticing, they're saying it's getting very sketchy. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some drivers take caution and maybe drop back to the back of the field to try and avoid any possible wrecks.
Oh, great.
Oh, the leader in the grass. Kane Cook holds on to it 3 wide into 3. How that wasn't a wreck, I'll never know. Overland now to the outside with help from Alfala as Kane Cook drove it through the grass down the back straightaway. Thank you, Kim, for the report. My goodness, that got sketchy fast.
That was perfect timing. She's talking about how the drivers are saying it's getting sketchy out there. They're lighting up voice chat. And suddenly Kane Cook is making a block down to the bottom. Remember, there's no yellow line here in the Carnomaly 500. And he doesn't just go below the yellow line. He goes to the grass, hop the curb. Wow, look at this.
That was a big moment right there.
I mean, this might be our Pied Piper in the lead that's gonna pick up the energy. We just saw Overland go up below the yellow line again with a big block.
You do what you got to do to get onto the lead and hold it, and that's about the biggest move we've seen yet to try and hold on to the lead, going all the way down and into the grass. But they all managed to get away with it. Parker, I look over, I see something going on with you as we look at this replay here. We'll let you do your thing as we look at Kyle Busch one more time into the wall. Not the first time for him there.
Oh. Same
spot as he got it last time. That's a lot of right front damage there in that 51 Rowdy Energy machine.
All that work, he had gotten himself into the top 20.
Problems! Kane Cook, Jake Nichols in the air. The leader's wrecking into 3. This is going to be a lot of cars. Nichols up and over. Kane Cook involved as well. I have no idea what just happened or why, but we have a race-changing wreck right here in 3 and 4 on lap 104.
That looked like exactly what we saw Kane Cook and Overland go through down the backstretch when we saw Kane Cook get away with it. There was the block down low. So here we go, down below the yellow line. Oh, just so much energy. Overland wasn't prepared for Kane Cook to be there. Kane saw the door open, went with it. Overland was meeting him down there, and the two just met in the middle. Just, you saw the intensity of that run, the amount of momentum the 15 had, that push from Jake Nichols. I mean, he basically just drove it into the left side, but that was also Overland coming down the track at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to call a late block on Overland for sure, wouldn't you think?
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's a huge moment right there. Chris Overland in the lead. I talked about it last week for the dual 150s. It's usually the guy that touches off the wreck that gets away with it with no damage, and we see it one more time here with Overland. Big aggressive block coming onto pit road. He's going to need to get some damage fixed because there was contact on the left rear.
And the favorite there.
Yeah.
You
see Ray John back and forth. A lot of John back and forth between Overland and Kane Cook, as you could well imagine right now.
Oh, of course. You see Ray Alfala, he was in the favorite. What did he have? The most viewer picks by about 1 million. Ton of damage.
Another look at it here in slow motion. Jake Nichols nowhere to go. Graham Bolin into the back of Nichols, but it looks like Bolin's going to escape for the most part as the cars go up to the wall first. Ray Alfala, all kinds of damage from that one. As Nichols goes for a tumble, gets hit by Helton on the way by. Adam Gilliland. DeMerchant barely squeaking by. Matt Busa with damage. Jimmy Mullis with a little bit of damage in the Sunoco machine. But the ride for Jake Nichols, absolutely horrendous. We're right on board now with Ray Alfala. Happens just that fast.
So that is Cook, Overland, Nichols, Alfala, Reynolds, Bowden, Busa, all involved. There's several others with minor contact, but I mean that's our big one. Let's see if the viewer picks change here at all. Well, obviously, Alfala is not even in our top 20 right now, but
I think McCandless, look at him, up 72 right now. They're starting to change.
I think it's
up to 90.
I think it's time for me to change my picks.
I have to change I have to change basically all of mine now. Just got destroyed.
Yeah, it's that is a race-changing wreck right there when you see that many leaders of this race go out. But a lot of close calls for a number of other drivers who did sneak through. And we talked about at that halfway point, are we going to see these drivers change their approach to this race? And saw those runs getting bigger down the backstretch, more aggressive blocking. And there's going to be a lot of discussion after that wreck as to what took place, why it went off, and who it wiped out.
Yeah, and I think that aggression that we were seeing, that sort of crazy racing and big blocks, that always is going to lead to something like that, and especially as the tires just continue to fall away, as the grip continues to go away, the longer they went into that run, the cars are handling the worst they're going to handle at any point as you get that late into a fuel run. We were getting close towards green flag stops, and people were going for it. And I think, we saw where you just eventually get to the point where there's such discrepancies in speed and the huge run that Kane Cook had, you're going to have two cars meet in the same spot if you're going to throw blocks to that time. Too early for blocks.
Up to a certain point. Up to a certain point.
Yeah.
You got to know, though. I mean, you got to know who you're racing around. I mean, with Chris Overland leading the race, is there anybody? What else is he going to do? We know Chris Overland. We know he's aggressive. We know he's got something to prove. He said it in the pre-race show that this is his chance to prove he's still got it. I don't think he's giving anybody an inch. I wouldn't if I were him.
Got to race people the way you expect them to race you back, and I think we saw a lot of that. It just it doesn't take much for it to go wrong as we go back to green now with Graham Bolin leading the field. Colin Keister sneaking down in line behind him. Brandon Cattell will head up the outside lane with a push from behind from Michael Cozy Jr., who's rebounded nicely from an earlier brush with the wall to bring his number 99 into the top 5, along with his teammate in tow, Seth DeMerchant, there on the top side. Up to speed they come. Kane Cook has officially retired his vehicle from this event. No surprise there, so much damage sustained in that wreck as Cassill takes the lead back to the stripe out of turn 4. That's a big power move, but similar to what we saw from Cassill a few weeks ago, took that lead right away around the top.
That's a real power move. Even stretches a little bit of a lead. You don't want too much of that. They will come with a head of steam once they get organized and get sort of that momentum back up from the top side. Don't throw a big block here. It's still pretty early. We're just past halfway in this thing. He chooses not to. Lets Bolin go to the outside.
I've seen Bolin make this move before when he took the lead earlier in this race around the outside. Tries it once again on Cassill, but for the time being, no momentum there, no help. Cassill will surge ahead and bring Cozy up to second.
Look who's on that outside. Blake McCandless.
Shocker.
High side right there.
High side Blake.
Are we surprised at this point to see him running up there? It seems every restart he's just running that outside to gain spots.
Just choosing it. Michael Cozy here wants to get to the lead. Look at this move. Goes to the top. Doesn't work. Crosses back to the bottom. Let's see if he gets a run here. Maybe he can get to that bumper into the tri-oval. Get Cassill just a little bit loose. Doesn't look like he quite has momentum, but that's one of the moves we'll definitely see later in this race is he get a big run here. See what he decides to do with it. Tucks in behind, but when we see a car go high in 4, especially as we get later in the race, later in a run, and then turn it back down towards the bottom, that can create a huge amount of momentum into the tri-oval, where if you get to that rear bumper or so on, you can get them so loose and slip right underneath them.
Cassill leads from Cozy, Bolin, Keister. Now Blake McCandless slots down in front of Seth DeMerchant for 5th. Colin Bowden, Daniel Roper, Adam Gilliland, Matt Busso up into the top 10. Candles once more to the outside, trying to take that spot from Keister.
He won't give up. Look at this move.
Take a look here. Colin Bowden to the grass almost on Daniel Roper.
That makes me laugh. Could you imagine doing 230 miles an hour through the grass at Daytona?
I was just imagining him jerking the car to the left and his hair flowing like this as he gets down on the apron, takes a bump, and his hair's going up into turn 3.
The lion's mane is flowing behind him. That excellent haircut. Yeah, that was a real visual buffet.
Thank you.
Comes a move for the lead. Cozy's going to take it away down the backstretch into 3. Put Michael Cozy Jr. to the point on lap 113. That's going to be a popular thing for a lot of people watching tonight. Well, MCJ has a throng of fans watching here. Now finds himself out front.
We got another predictor up here. We start to see them dicing it up more. But
7 lap.
Lap 120. I got this one.
Yes is paid. Yes has paid on these, so
oh yeah,
I gotta keep it going. It seems like these drivers can really keep it together on new tires. We've seen it the whole event through the prelim.
Lot of contact there between Bolin and Cassill. Bolin shoving Cassill, smacked him once, twice before they got to turn 3. Cassill held on to it. Bolin not messing around.
Just gave him a center punch into 3 there. Had the run, decided, I'm not going to use the brake too much. I'm not going to bleed off any speed. I'll just use this front bumper in front of me. Cassill got super sideways into 3 and held on to it. He's going to lose a ton of positions because not only did that knock him up in the outside groove, but it heated up that right rear tire, and he's definitely falling back.
Cassill quick to come over the radio, and all he said was, that will be remembered.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
Look for that later. We've seen Bolin. Right now, Bolin might be my mid-race favorite to win this thing.
Oh,
is it 70 of
Aaron Smith.
Aaron Smith
around by himself, no caution.
Still green.
Keep it going.
Well off the racing surface.
Yep, no one around him. Keeps it going. We stay green.
And Bolin and Cozy side by side for the lead here. Bolin, like I said, he is not afraid to use his bumper, not just on the race car, but I said just use in the air. I mean, he has figured out how to get someone loose in front of him. Those are going to be race-winning moves. Let's see Aaron Smith here. Or no, that's Garrett Smithley getting loose.
Oh,
Aaron Smith just kind of an innocent bystander as Kyle Busch goes around him, just clears.
Just missed him.
Little bobble there. And that's all it takes, really. It's one little bobble from somebody else, and that can really affect your ability to get around that. And unfortunate for Aaron Smithley, into Smith. There's a joke in there somewhere. I'm not going to make it.
I was waiting for you.
Okay.
Nah, not doing it. We still got way too many laps.
We haven't been here nearly long enough.
No, because if I make that joke now, if it happens again down the road, it's even cooler. I don't want to waste that.
Look at those wiggles. Colin Bowden there just got so loose. Cozy on the outside. Slots it down the bottom now. Those Logitech G Altis cars, they're assembling up here in the top 5. Trying to make a run at this thing.
I mean, is working with a teammate, how would you work with a teammate here, Parker? I mean, I don't want anybody pushing me that hard through the corners. I mean, I'm gonna get pretty loose.
Yeah, the thing is with this, it's more like a conventional racetrack where here, yes, there's a bit more draft, a bit of bump drafting. Cattell's making his way back towards the front here, but the thing I think is it's when you're trying to get back to the bottom, right? It's when you're trying to get a break from someone because you shove the outside. That's when your teammate comes to play and says, hey, I'll let you in. Slot in here as Cozy did right there in front of Demerchant. And that's just where teammates can help each other as opposed to, some of the restricted racing is, hey, look, the payout here for the predictor is going to be yes. We did say green. Love that. Thank you for the 200 points. I hope you picked no.
Big too.
Yeah. I was hoping you'd pick no,
points.
but you did. So I gained nothing on you.
Yeah, well, and Parker, as you were saying that, I realized that that side move, one of the biggest things that would determine if the outside car could complete the pass is if he had a pusher down the straightaway that would help him complete the pass. So, having a teammate at the end of the race that's willing to move up to your lane, give you that push if you're on the outside, could be the difference maker, especially if it's off of turn 4 coming to the checkered.
Brandon Cattell is on a mission right now.
Yeah, he once again keyed up over the comms. Brandon Cattell did and said, "Here, kitty, 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 kitty." Which is ironic considering he's got a kitty cat on the hood. That's Patrick.
Yes.
The running joke.
Look at the protect down the backstretch. I mean, all the way down to the yellow line. No arc into the corner. For cars that we keep talking about how bad these cars handle, and they're willing to whistle it into turn 3 at 240 on the yellow line with no arc.
Oh, big move to the outside as Keister had a big wiggle coming into the tri-oval. Cattell stuck it on the outside looking for that second spot.
I got a sense that he wants to get to that 10 car. And maybe the predictor should be, does he choose to use the bumper when he gets to the 10 car?
Well, he's already there, so we may not have time. Big move to the bottom. Here he goes into 3. Bolin wasn't going to fight that one.
Thank you for playing.
Bolin did not even try to throw a block, but he is going to cross him over. I mean, Bolin knows how loose these guys get in front of him. We'll see if he makes another aggressive move. I don't know how much more patience Brandon's going to have for the 10 anymore, though. If I were the 10, I would just kind of let it go for a little bit.
And that was a pretty awesome run through the field. I mean, he was 6th or 7th just a couple laps ago. In the span of 2 or 3 laps, he ripped through the top 5 there and got to the lead. We talked earlier about noting things. That's something I would note because that is showing, all right, 3 2-3 laps to go, this far into a run, maybe I have a car that can make those kind of moves, as Moonhead would say, big meaty moves, right? And find yourself back in the lead and being able to pass all those cars so easily. So that was an impressive display of the strength that he has in that Indy car.
I mean, right now, to me, it's looking like the Cattell Bowling show. Wouldn't you say? I mean, Cattell's viewer picks are up to 104, Bolin 89. So the crowd's paying attention.
They are.
Crowd's paying attention. McCandless getting some votes back there with 89 as well.
That's my pick to win. Brandon Cattell, Firecracker 400 champion. Now I've just cursed him for sure.
Oh, yeah. And then look at that leaderboard, guys. Back to 12th after getting spun out earlier. Chris Overland. Not out of this by any means. Kyle Busch back into the top 20. He was as far back as basically 30th.
Oh, McCandless. Way out of shape coming out of the tri-oval. The field scatters. Blake Reynolds sideways.
Reynolds
holds on to
Look at
it.
David
Brown
oh, my God.
They saved it.
Wow.
Wow.
We need a replay of that. We need a replay of that save. That has to be the save of the race.
Right here, we got it.
Anything's going to be better than that.
Blake
Landon.
Reynolds.
So here's McCandless. Oh, just got wedged between two cars.
Drift.
Wow. You see the wheels to the right, but not so much that it overcorrects. And Blake Reynolds, you know, I always talk about Seth the Merchant is the man who is the wizard of drifting a stock car. Blake Reynolds is not far off of him, and those skills came into play right there.
You can see why he's the NASCAR driver he is. Wow. Cattell gets driven around by both Bolin and Keister linked up together. Just drove right around the outside of him. That was impressive. But hey, Landon, if we were looking for a place for Blue Moon to maybe hand out an award, that might be the Blue Moon save of the race or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was awesome.
We are going to, we've got a lot of stuff to give away. So if you're playing the eRacr Predictor, at this point, I don't even know what we're giving away because our sponsors have started piling in things to give away. Parker's digging for some. Oh, yeah, he's got some Valvoline.
You make it
I've got the Mark Martin.
Yeah.
I've got the Mark Martin bobblehead.
These mugs. There's a Yeti.
We've got Blue Emu here. We're going to be giving away to some Battle Scars because the Blue Emu sponsored the Battle 150, so we're going to give away the Blue Emu Battle Scars to somebody had a hard luck award. That might be going to Nick Ottinger. We'll see how this race unfolds. So keep playing the Predictor as well, though. We've got lots of prizes to give away, even if I beat you guys.
And
hey, you guys like winning prizes.
Right in time.
Like prizes.
All you got to do is be playing the Predictor, and you're entered into these giveaways. The top 10 will get prizes. The top for tonight will get prizes. And then just being a part of it, you'll get a prize, most likely. Or you'll be entered at least. See Blake Reynolds way off the pace now.
Those tires have got to be really, really mad.
Yeah, that right rear.
I mean, with that big of a slide, that really had to hurt. Especially we're 20 laps into this run since we last went green. Blake Reynolds, that was a great save, but that car is hurting right now.
Yeah, I mean, these cars are getting really slick.
Oh, there was contact. That's what happened to Blake Reynolds. See if we can get the replay for you, but on that previous lap, contact between Reynolds and Blackford sent the 66 McLaren machine as we look at it here. Blackford on the bottom there, up the track into Reynolds, and that's a lot of damage.
That was just, I mean, Ryan's car moved up the track. It looked like he just got really tight into turn one. He kind of missed the bottom.
That big save, big moment, and then big contact with the wall. As we work lap 130, closing in on 70 laps to go here in the Carnomaly 500. This race going by at a pretty good pace, I would say. Graham Bolin out in front. Leads from Colin Keister, Cattell, Cozy, Bowden, and Gilliland, your top 7 right now. They've sort of broken away. Nick Morse. Give a call to Nick Morse, actually, in that 7th position. Haven't talked much about Nick yet tonight. We saw him in the pre-race video, giving his thoughts on what it meant to be in this race tonight. And now here he finds himself in the 7th spot, trying to take a spot away from a very slow Colin Bowden down the backstretch.
Or we saw Nick in the pre-race show talking about spending 30, 40 hours, him and his team were building their setup for this race. Lots of practice.
Seems to be paying off for the time being. Report from pit road. Let's go down to Kim Kuhn.
We've talked a lot about the durability of these cars. One perfect example is Chris Overland. You know, he was battling for the lead, part of the action that ends up causing one of what's going to be the big ones. We saw a restart on lap 107. Overland at the back with minimal damage, looking to race himself back to the front. So we kept an eye on him, thanks to our pit spotter, AJ Henderson, pointing that out. And he has already made his way up back into the top 10, currently running 8. So again, just a testament to how strong these cars are. We talk about the durability and how you can have a decent amount of damage and still be very fast in the draft. I know, Parker, you keep likening them to the cars of tomorrow. I like to compare them to the NASCAR Xfinity Series composite body cars. Now, these cars aren't composite body, but we're certainly seeing the same type of durability that we see in those cars. You know, you get up against the wall, and it's not detrimental to your day.
Cam, that was a really good report there. Thank you. And that's, I think where she's right, it doesn't, you know, whether it's virtual composite or virtual sheet metal, I think where these cars are, the durability comes from is just that there's no body lines on the side. They're already straight. So if you pancake the wall, I mean, there's not much you can do to it already, that it's just dead straight. So it's a great report from Kim. Thank you.
Yeah, and she had a great point, you know, especially because the draft is a big help as well, right? Will we see Overland with that damage get to the lead? That I still question, right? If he can get to the lead and stay there. But the draft is so powerful in these cars, and as it is at most super speedways, it really helps. And not having the damage be a huge effector of the speed as well helps a little bit. The handling portion of this, if you have a car that's handling really well late in a run, even if it's got a little bit of damage, you can get away with it because it's just more about the handling. So this is we're starting to see that really come into play right now.
Cozy's retaken the lead, but now finds himself under assault from Adam Gilliland as things have been shuffling around a little bit throughout the leaders. Like one guy will get out front and somebody else will take it away from him, as we've been about 25 laps or so since the last time these cars were down pit road. So we're getting to that point where green flag pit stops has to be on the mind as Nick Morse down through the grass, backs out of it and saves it. So for the second time in a race, we've seen somebody down into the grass.
What is with these guys?
We've seen this every time, so we're about 5 laps from a green flag pit stop, and this is where they crank it up again. I mean, the intensity is getting ratcheted up. Drivers fighting for track position, wanting to get to a green flag pit stop, get as far up into the field as they can before they have to pit.
And this is going to put them within basically one more stop of the end of this race if we were to stay green. So, or thereabouts, I guess you'd have to really push it on that next one. As we see real quickly, I believe Kyle Busch is on pit road there, so he's one of the first takers. I like this move. Short pit him, see if he can gain some time. Maybe he can latch onto a draft. He was running in 21st place. I think actually he was right behind Garrett Smithley, so he was right outside the top 20. Why not take a little move here of getting on pit road early, get some new tires on it, see if he can gain some time through the pack.
Yeah, the only thing that makes me nervous about it just a little bit, he's coming off pit road right behind the whole lead pack. I mean, they're going through 2 right now, so he'll be plenty clear of them. He'll have some clean air for a few laps, but he's definitely got to get through some traffic, and we've seen how aggressive these drivers are going into a green flag pit stop.
And then he'll have to work through those cars because he'll have a lot more grip than some of these others.
On the predictor.
Oh, yeah.
New one for y'all to choose from. What lap will Michael Cozy Jr. pit? Lap 138, 139, 140, or somewhere after that? Make sure you lock in your pick right now.
Lock it in quick. I'm sure the 5 seconds will come up here basically as they're going into turn 3. So otherwise 138 wouldn't be a good pick.
I know what I'm picking. I'm not sure if it's a gamble or not.
I picked it. I picked 140.
Is it
I
close?
picked later. I think it's, I don't know. I don't think it hurts to stretch it. I think the longer you stretch it, as long as you don't lose the draft after you pit, the longer you stretch it, the better your tires are when you come out of pit road. So I can see somebody taking later.
Well,
a lot of
39.
activity. A lot of activity on the radio right now. I'll tell you this, Michael Cozy Jr. wanted to come down pit road that last time, got passed for the lead, and now will be coming down this time.
You're telling me I'm going to be 1 lap short? Ah! No! Stay out!
He was going to pit last time by, couldn't make it because he lost the lead. Cassill was down underneath of him. But we expect to see a lot of cars down pit road this time, so let's watch.
He could go 1 more lap. No, he's pitting.
Cassill, Overland, Cozy.
Oh.
Cozy was very conservative coming down pit road. Overland, fast pit road entry. We'll see if he didn't get a penalty there.
Into the box they come.
See, a little tricky with cars coming in and out of pit road at the same time.
Bowden overshoots a little bit. That'll slow him down on this stop.
Seeing them go through the pits here.
Cozy down and away. There goes Cassill. There goes Gilliland. Cassill will lead him off of pit road. Gilliland will be second. Cozy will let him up to be third. Then it's Overland, Roper, Brotherton off of pit road in this first group. Next group of drivers coming down pit road include Colin Keister, Nick Morse, Blake McCandless.
Nick Morse led them on to pit road. He had a pretty big gap. The other drivers that were following him on. So we'll see how they all rejoin each other sort of into the pack, how it reassembles.
Dangerous time right now. Those cars going different speeds coming off of pit road. Already at speed on the track, blending back together as another group peels off, including Seth DeMerchant, Jimmy Mullis, and Matt Busa.
This is going to be interesting to me to see how Kyle Busch cycles through here because he was the first one to pit. What was it, maybe 3 or 4 laps short of the rest of them? So, does this put him at the lead of the pack to start, at least with 4-lap tires?
I think I'm paying attention to time and scoring here, sort of seeing where he's going to end up. He does have a lot of damage on that Rowdy Energy machine, but I think this is going to work. It's going to be a positive for him. So,
at least for now. I mean, the only challenge is he's going to be in the pack with 6 laps older tires than everybody else. I mean, it's going to be a handful. So, he's just got to keep the car under him here. Just sort of take his medicine when some of these guys are going to be driving around him pretty quick on new tires.
So he pitted out of 21st place, and he's basically back to 21st, essentially, I think, as we go here. Maybe he'll gain a couple more spots. So I don't know if it was a big net gain. I think the problem was, Landon, he just didn't have any help with him.
Yeah.
He needed to be 2 laps earlier with a set of cars, and he could have possibly been able to help himself a little bit more.
That round of green flag pit stops completes. Cassill is going to take the lead back from Gilliland. Sean Butler now up into the top 3. Haven't mentioned Sean's name yet really tonight. He had an excellent green flag cycle. Was really, really good on and off of pit road. Finds himself in 3rd. Cozy 4th. Overland back to 5th. Overland, Smithley, Roper, Bowden, and Keister now the top 10 as the top 7 cars, top 6 cars really have got away from each other, but almost had an incident amongst themselves as well.
And they probably had a little chance to maybe get a breakaway from that set of cars behind them. Garrett Smithley sort of the straggler to this lead pack right there in that green machine. And then there's that X group behind them. They're getting all dicey as well. So it doesn't seem like they want to even try to organize a breakaway. It's just sort of try and put yourself in the best position you think you should be in.
Look at your leader right now, Sean Butler.
Great job for Sean. Total Advantage Motorsports represent well. Looking forward to kicking off his Road to Pro qualification series efforts tomorrow at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but for now finds himself out in front of the field of the Carnomaly 500, coming to start lap 145 as they go 3 wide behind him by the slower car of David Brown. Cassill with the runoff of 4 will sit in line. Sean Butler, your leader right now.
Yeah, I can tell you, Sean Butler, his friends are not very nice to him in the chat.
No.
They are being cruel.
They are very, very mean to him in the
And
chat.
I like every time that we go on the Valvoline onboard for this other oil car, makes me happy. So when you pick the wrong oil, just remember we control the broadcast. The right oil will be put here on the broadcast.
That's right. Don't.
Contact between Cozy and
Cassill.
Cattell's going to shoot Cassill forward, stack up that inside line, put Cassill back on the point. As Butler tries to hold on the outside lane, that was a close call.
I was really expecting Overland to make it 3 wide on Butler there, as well as a patient move. I can tell he wants to do it, though. I got my eyes on Chris Overland right now in that outside lane behind Butler.
He's aggressive. I love watching Overland race these super speedways. He's so aggressive about it. Talked to him earlier this week about that. Said, just sort of asked him, where's that come from? And he said, I just feel like when I'm in these super speedways, I go for the gaps. I find the holes, and if they're not there, I try and make them. As he looked like he was going to try and make one right there on the bottom, but he said it just comes naturally in a lot of ways. Just when he's got the car to do it, why not go for it? And I love it. And he gets away with it often. It looks like oftentimes where it's moves in sim racing, you'd think that's not going to work out, and then he just finds a way to make it work. Ripping the outside right now. See if he might be able to get back towards the lead of this thing.
You take that approach, it doesn't come without its criticisms as well. Of course, people will be talking about the crash that was touched off between he and Kane Cook as a result of that aggressive driving. Speaking of, Nick Morse just took Sean Butler 3 wide under the yellow line going into turn 3, pulls it off. Nick Morse has been a very aggressive driver tonight as well, and for his efforts, Nick Morse will find himself up into the 6th position.
Yeah, and you can see the top left of your screen, that knocked Blake McCandless with a little bit of right front damage even. But that knocked Blake almost out 5-6 spots from where he was at.
I feel
McCandless had a
validated.
jam on the brakes.
Well, I never took Overland out of my top 5 on my predictor, even when he wrecked. So I had a feeling he'd come back, guys. I just knew it. I knew he'd come back.
I keep the faith.
Yeah.
Keep the faith as the leaders will come up on the James D. Gibson machine. Damage from an earlier incident in this race and put him a lap in the rears. Again, that top 6 right now have really broken away by about a half a second over that second group headed up by Liam Brotherton, who's got Sean Butler and Colin Bowden in tow as well. Close quarters there as they work past Blake Reynolds, who put himself in the wall, sacrificed himself to let the rest of the field go. That was a close shave right there.
Yeah, Blake is just having a hard time. And since that little bit of damage, it just seems like it's compounding on itself, and he hasn't really had a chance to properly fix his car under caution.
A lot easier to fix the car under yellow. Under these green flag stops, you just can't take the time Parker to fix the car.
No, you can't sacrifice that time. See Adam Gillen up there trying to hold off a host of cars. Got some Space Station Gaming cars, some Logitech Gialtis cars. They're all assembling around Cattell and Gilliland, trying to take them down. Sort of the independents versus the conglomerates out there here in the Carnomaly 500.
The conglomerates. We've been riding with Michael Cozy Jr., who's had himself a strong run, as expected. The VRS on the hood there, newly announced partnership between VRS and Logitech G Altus as well. So a lot of great things happening over there. Seen VRS on the hood. Cozy in 4th position. Don't forget about his teammate, Seth DeMerchant, who was up front for a lot of this race. Seth DeMerchant's fallen all the way back to the 19th position. Not sure what has happened to Seth DeMerchant, but he is way back there, and Cozy, without any help, might struggle to find himself in the lead by the time this thing's over.
I gotta grab my keyboard because the predictor, we got another prediction. Will the leader at the end of lap 155 have an odd or even car number? Well, that's coming up in 4 laps.
I love
here.
these ones. These are fun. These are fun.
Even, odd. I'm gonna give it odd, and I'm gonna give it an odd because I think Overland is gonna go from 6th to the lead in the next 4 laps.
All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have locked in. I went.
McCandless is around. Blake McCandless around in 1 and 2, no caution, but Blake McCandless has gone around after contact from Garrett Maines. McCandless was all out of shape. Maines really nowhere to go as McCandless was trying to hold on to that car, and around goes McCandless, no caution.
He gathered it up pretty quickly.
Look at it here. He's just been struggling. Maines made a move to get to the inside to get around him. And I'm not sure if McCandless went to block or just had such hot tires in the rear from that slide through the tri-oval. He had no control and the car just moved down. But either way, gets turned around. Harmless spin to the inside, but he's going to lose all his track position. And without a caution, Blake McCandless is going to really be in trouble here.
Yeah, it's good heads up by race control there, Josh Mendoza. Just knowing single car, spin, 360, keep it going. You know, we've got another, we're not quite in our window yet to get to the end, 47 laps to go. And if I'm going to get paid 250 points on this, I need Chris Overland to charge because he's got 4 even-numbered cars in front of him.
That's why I went even, man. I love that you went on. I was like, I like my chances to gain 250 points here. Let's go.
We need a 1,000-point question before this thing's over.
Well, we also got the finishing, you know, how it ends. It'll basically come down to how it ends, right? Because I think right now I'm getting paid something like 12,700 max points if all my predictions are right. So that could be the big game changer I need. If anyone's kept their picks since the start of the race, so they still have a chance at 25,000 points, please let us know in the chat. I'd be curious to know. Has anyone out there kept their original picks from the start of this race?
Oh, I'm sure somebody out there has. They may not be good picks, but I bet you somebody hasn't changed them.
We ought to have a way to know.
So
we'll have to talk to the dev team about that.
We might. Well, I'm just saying, put it in the chat. I've seen one so far saying I'm still alive for 25K points. So that's the X factor out there, guys. Could be looking great now. Everything can change.
A few.
Yeah. Some had great picks.
Adam Gilliland leading here now, working lap 156. So well into the final quarter of this race. Been about 16 laps or so since these leaders were on pit road. So not quite to halfway on the expected fuel run. It seems to be everybody's showing some patience right now as we look at today's top scores on the predictor.
Hey, 3 Wide Racing, that's Ace. I mean, he's been killing it this whole event. He's been doing pretty good. In the top 3, it's still an Oberlin, though.
Cozy losing a few positions here now as he got bypassed by Nick Morse. Overland's going to take him as well. Matt Busa looking, Cozy blocking. As we look back from Adam Gilliland at the fight for second between Colin Keister and Brandon Cattell. Cattell with the Patrick Power on the hood going up to P2.
And we should let the people know our producer has asked the cameramen to stop playing the predictor and get back to doing the cameras. So it's distracting for everyone involved. This is just great racing right now, guys. We're seeing the sun start to set in the background. Fully dusk now here at Daytona.
Oh, boy. That got close between Overland and Nick Morse. Nearly contact there between Overland and Nick Morse going into 3. As Overland's going to lose a lot of momentum and come under fire from Cozy now. Close call there as Morse jumps to the high side to ride in the coattails of Colin Keister.
I think Overland's car maybe...
Oh, Keister sideways in front of the field. He's going to get hit, saves it, and they all keep going. Wow. What a save from Colin Keister.
That was amazing.
Oh, my gosh.
These are the best of the best right now.
That, I mean, between his and Blake Reynolds, and I don't know, call it how you see it, but let's look at this replay, and I mean, he was sideways before they even got to the turn and grazed the wall.
Oh, yeah, he was just having to enter so high. And that's so sketchy in these cars. There's nothing to lean on when you're that high up near the wall. The wall tap just gets it that unsettled. Tires are already begging for mercy as you enter the corner there. So that was impressive. And to bounce it off in our car there and get away with it. Amazing.
That got the attention of the whole field as well. Nick Morse on the radio, everybody coming on the radio complimenting Keister's ability to save that race car. Unreal.
Great stuff.
Wow. I thought for sure we were about to see. I thought he could save it at first, but when he got hit by Nick Morse, I thought we were going to have a really, really big wreck. And thankfully, we didn't.
Yeah, that was... These saves have been amazing. And, you know, these cars allowed a little bit, but it still takes a lot of skill because we have not seen that a lot in the entirety of this 3-week event. But here in the top 43, these drivers are able to hold on to it. As we take a look here at Kyle Busch, had that short pitch strategy. Where's he running now? 23rd this time. So he lost about 2 spots to that strategy. Every panel on that car is beat up. Still in it. Still in it.
He's still in it.
Not well.
You know who he's following? He's following our
Norman.
underdog story. Stephen Norman, Stormin' Norman in the Buick. Talked about it at the pre-race show in his interview about racing with Kyle Busch. He's got him in his mirror.
This has got to be a cool moment for Stephen. He was the lowest I rating in this event. Well, I guess aside from Kyle Busch, but Kyle Busch doesn't do a lot of official racing, so we'll let that slide. But he's the lowest I rating here, racing against a 2-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. You can only find that in iRacing and eRacer events like this. And to be in this position, I just love to see it. It's so awesome. What other sport allows that? What other sport can you go head-to-head with the winningest driver, the winningest person in the sport, 2-time champion of the sport, and you're just a regular guy from Indiana trying your best to hang with him? I love that.
Kyle obviously making quick work
get it anywhere.
of Mr. Norman there, but now he's got some clean air on his bumper, and he's got Blake McCandless, who's been really close to him. So, you know, his car's got to be a little bit looser out front there for Kyle.
But he's
Top
got
5 single file at the front of the field here. Gilliland in 6th, a little bit off this lead pack. And then it's, again, a little bit of a gap back to 7th, and Colin Bowden, Dan Roper, Brian Blackford hanging out. Everybody's just single file in little groups right now.
This is starting to feel like that calm before the storm because, I mean, it just seems like this race is taking forever, but we're closing in on 35 laps to go. I mean, that's the closing lap
Keister
of
up
the
in
race.
the wall. Colin Keister, a lot of problems. He didn't save that one. Colin Keister hard into the wall in that number 8 machine, lost all his momentum and a lot of damage on that car now. So a driver who spent a lot of time at the front of this field now in a heap of trouble as he will fall well out of the top grouping. And that great save might be the highlight of the race for him now.
Yeah, you see that car wiggling around just all over the place. It's got to have some serious damage, tires destroyed. Yeah, you know, Space Station Gaming with some great representation in the Carnomaly 500. Good to see them here. You get a replay at this. So that's Garrett Mainsey inside Jimmy Mullis. Are they going to touch? Oh, they just do. It gets him to the wall. Hey, guys. So right, I think, yeah, we're coming close to another green flag or set of green flag stops. But one of the things that might be on the driver's mind is fuel mileage. Kim, do you have some more info on what's going on with the fuel mileage situation?
Now, if we stay green, we could be looking at a fuel mileage race. The last set of green flag pit stop cycles started at lap 136, went to about lap 140. Remember, they can get low 30s, anywhere from 30 to maybe 32 laps on fuel. So we are going to only see one more stop if this stays green. We should see that cycle start shortly because remember, Kyle Busch was the first one on pit road. He's short pitted, and he's one I'm watching because he actually might end up being a little bit short. He short pitted one lap 136. Now, if we go into the end, that's really going to be stretching that fuel window of low 30s. And he's certainly going to be a driver that needs to be saving because he has not had a lot of help in the draft. So, again, I don't know that we're going to stay green, but if we do, we're looking at one more round of stops and possibly a fuel mileage finish.
Great stuff, Kim. Thank you for the update. So definitely, this is a topic on everyone's minds. Fuel mileage now. Could the Carnomaly 500 become a battle of patience on the fuel? We saw, I think it was Kyle that got in the wall there. Steve Norman got in the wall. So these drivers have calmed down, but I got to think some of them might be thinking, stay in that draft, stay in the lead pack, Landon, save a little fuel, be lifting even more, coast that car as much as you can, stretch this fuel as long as you can so that you don't have to think about it on the backside of the stop.
Well, and if there's anybody that I think is in the right position, if you have to save fuel right now, are the drivers that are at the tail end of the lead pack. So you've got, looks like Kyle Busch is coming down pit road now for his green flag pit stop. But I'm looking at Brian Blackford, Colin Bowden, Adam Gilliland. These are drivers that are in a position to save fuel. Brandon Cattell, Matt Bouza leading the pack. Maybe not so much. They're running a lot more wide open to lead this pack.
Kyle actually pitted with some friends there. He had Steven Norman with him and a couple other cars, so he'll actually have some drafting partners when he does complete this green flag stop. They were a couple seconds behind the lead pack, so they'll probably have to fight here to be able to get back to make sure they stay on the lead lap and ahead of that lead pack.
Wheeler, work lap 169. Brandon Cattell back out front, battling with Matt Bouza for the lead. As we have one car spun around, that was Steven Norman, who spun around coming off of pit road, did not affect anybody else. Nearly got clipped by Blake McCandless on the way by.
Well, so that's one of Kyle Busch's drafting partners gone. Can't win. He finally had some friends. I got my pick in on when Cattell will pit, by the way.
I did too. I didn't go as aggressive as I did last time.
Oh, I got 171, so we'll see if this works out.
Same thing.
Well, it's been 30 laps since Cattell's been down pit road, which is right on par with everyone. It's a few laps between most of the drivers all the way through the top 13 or 14 positions. So everyone's sort of in that same box, knowing that you can pit at any time now and make it to the end on fuel.
Here they come.
Smithley coming down pit road. Sean Butler.
Who's that behind? Is that Keister or Bowden? One of the Space Station Gaming cars.
I'm telling you, I really, if you were going to go green all the way here, I think this stint, these next 3 laps right here are the laps that I would want to hit as long as I can. I think I want to have the freshest tires on this last stint. I don't even care if I give up a second or two coming out of the pits, lose a little bit of gap. I think when I come out of the pits having fresher tires in my competition, it's going to be better to the end of the race if it goes green all the way.
Yeah, even if it's just a lap or two, it's going to be a big difference.
It's going to make a difference.
It's going to make a huge difference. So you definitely want to push this one as far as you can go into possibly a situation where you've got that newer tires or the newest tires and you're able to just be that bit more aggressive late.
Leaders will be coming down pit road. We're going to have some coming. Michael Cozy Jr. is going to be the first to come down pit road, bringing Adam Gilliland with him, Colin Bowden, and others. First round of pit stops here for the final time. Bowden slides it across the line. Brotherton and Daniel Roper, the other ones joining them in this first grouping.
That got hairy. That's some Larry entries there.
Nick Morris just queued up. He's pitting. Brandon Cattell will be pitting next time by as well. So now we are on to the money stop for these drivers. The last opportunity to take service, potentially, if this goes green to the end. Nick Morris will be the first on pit road from this group. Bring Cattell and others with them.
I see Mullis, Busa, Blackford, DeMerchant still out, though. Those are the drivers. That's, to me, if this is going green for the next 25 laps, that's the strategy. If these guys can stretch it 2 or 3 more laps, those are going to be the cars to beat. Short pitting, you got to remember there's draft, Parker. So, and the draft is within a second. So, even if you short pit and you leapfrog the guys in front of you and you get a 2-second lead on them and they get within a second of you, they're going to get a draft. They're going to suck right up to you. And now all of a sudden they've got 2-lap, 3-lap better tires than you do from your short pit. So, I think it's okay to go long. It's okay to give up, let them leapfrog you, and just charge through them.
The Merchant off into the grass right there as he came down pit road. He was pitting from the 3rd spot along with Mullis and Blackford. Matt Busa is the lone car who stays on track, has not pitted yet. Matt Busa will be coming down pit road this time to be the last car to take service here.
Of sink on the back street. There's contact. Cozy in the back of...
Oh, Blake McCandless tries to...
That got tight. Got really close there.
It was Busa trying to get down to pit road.
Roper as well. Not trying to get to pit road, but in the way.
Wow.
Yeah, that got really close right there as Busa was on old tires trying to get to pit road. Everyone coming with a huge head of steam behind him. They make it work. As we get back to speed now, and again, big battles here throughout the top 5 when this thing is done. Contact between Alt, Roper, Brotherton, Cozy is in it as well. Roper flipped up and over. Overland sneaks by. Mullis sneaks by as caution flag flies with 25 laps to go.
Wow.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Pandora's box just opened up, guys.
I mean, just as we were finishing. The weird thing is that Busa had to have just been coming off of pit road. Is he still your leader?
Gilliland is going to take over the lead from Smithley as this thing cycles through. But this contact starts with the 61 of Roper and Dylan Alt. As that was Bowden making the 3-wide move on the bottom, Roper tags Alt, turns him around. Cozy involved, like I said. Brotherton involved. That's a heartbreaker for those drivers who were running so strong for so long in this race. Cozy might be okay with right side damage. Could have been a lot worse for him.
Definitely could have been. We got to see how this sort of cycles through. So you obviously had a lot of different laps that people pitted on. I'm looking at timing scoring, seeing it cycle around. It's all jumbled up right now until we sort of cross the start-finish line and start to figure out where these cars are supposed to be. But this is really going to jumble things up. It's going to allow everyone basically to get on the same tires, same strategy for the ones that still are on the lead lap. Some may have been trapped a lap down. We'll have to see once again when it cycles all the way through. But this is going to be crazy. This just opened up now the biggest moves we've seen in the race, where you're going to want to take advantage of new tires early on.
Timing and scoring is a bit borked right now. That's to use that word. As we ride on board with Overland, just barely snuck past that. It's a terrible time for a caution to fly right in the middle of a green flag cycle right here. But it looks like right now timing and scoring has Garrett Smith as your leader, who decided not to come down pit road alongside Colin Bowden, as everybody else pit behind them.
Didn't Garrett pit? Wasn't he one of the drivers that short pitted?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
So Garrett short pitting leapfrogged the field, ended up in the lead. I mean, the caution came out at the perfect time for him, I suppose. Except now he's staying out. I mean, he's got 5 laps on his tires. He's staying out. More than 5 laps.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that decision. Brake rotor's glowing right now.
Glowing.
A lot of things to get unwound here, but for the time being, it's going to be Smithley and Bowden as your top 2.
Kim's got a report on Garrett Smithley should he win the race. Oh, she says no.
I know.
Oh, we'll come back to Kim in a little bit.
All right,
but a lot of things to get worked out here.
She's gonna hold us in. She's gonna hold us in suspense on that one.
Yeah, just wait.
Another one of those race-changing wrecks, I would say, like we saw earlier with the Overland and Kane Cook wreck, just another race-changing wreck there that wipes out some fast cars. But again, after green flag pit stops, trying to get back into that pack, and you see an opportunity to get aggressive and maybe sneak a spot away from somebody you've been following. But the blocking was getting really aggressive, and I think we're at that point where drivers are more take and less give.
Right, and there was obviously a lot to figure out there with this caution coming amidst the green flag stops as to where everyone lines up, who is where, that sort of thing. So it's still actually being sorted out as we speak right now. It's definitely a hard thing to figure out when all these cars, as you see them trying to figure out where they're supposed to be as they rejoin the pack. Some got sent around on the wave around. Some were caught a lap down, but in the middle of the leaders. This is a race control nightmare.
Yeah, the least fun part about this stuff is that it's tough. It's a tough spot to be in, Parker. You know, trying to run the race and everything's automated for you within iRacing as far as timing and scoring goes. But when you get into that green flag cycle and people are changing positions really quick, and then you get that caution flag, it can really throw everything out, even in an automated system. And that's what they're trying to unwind right now to make sure everybody is where they should be.
Right, and this is where we sort of defer to the iRacing service, and it does an incredible job of this. But also we have a human in there, humans that are also acting as race control to sort of sort things out when sometimes maybe it's not perfect. So trying to be fair to everyone, we're trying to figure this out and get it sorted appropriately. So we see Garrett Smithley's going to stay on track right now, but there possibly some cars we just have to sort out manually and say, okay, wait, that car shouldn't be there. Let's get them back where they should be, and that's sort of what we're sorting out right now. So this might be a slightly extended caution, but we'll get back racing as soon as possible and get these things back in the order they should be.
Because right now, timing and scoring is showing 18 cars on the lead lap. Number of drivers a lap down that probably shouldn't be. McCandless, McMillan, Tires, Bush, Slaughter, Smith, Brotherton, Helton, Bolton, Reynolds, all one lap down, as they will work to get all this cleared out and the cars will circulate. And I would say that this only helps somebody like Garrett Smithley, who short pitted, put it right on the edge as far as fuel goes, but now gets caution laps to burn less fuel instead of being at race pace.
Right. So this is helping Smithley. I mean, he's on those older tires. He stayed out there. He's trying to, be in this great position with only 20 to go. And the more laps we tick under caution here is just going to sort of help him get closer to it. But it's only fair, as we like to do in eRacer events, make them as fair as possible. We take this extra moment, lap or two, sort it all out, get the cars that should be where they, should be on the lead lap or should be in a different lap position. As you see some of these cars on the bottom, they're going around. So this is some of the cars that maybe got trapped a lap down that technically when we looked at the scoring, realized they shouldn't have been. We're rectifying that now, and we'll get back green as soon as we can.
All right. Back down to pit road, Kim Kuhn with a report on your leader, Garrett Smithley.
Yeah, well, all three of NASCAR's top series are headed to Las Vegas Motor Speedway this weekend, including Garrett Smithley. And Garrett has decided to gamble early before he even gets to Vegas, and he's doing it right now in this race with the Gamble to Short Pit. And he's got a little incentive to grab the checkers. He has said that all his winnings this race and stream are going towards Texas Strong GoFundMe, and he's running that on his car this weekend at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So again, taking the gamble, but doing it for a good cause.
That's awesome. Great to hear Garrett doing that. Such a hard worker in the racing world. Will drive anything when he gets the chance. Drives cup cars, drives trucks, drives Xfinity cars. He's all over the racing world. A big-time sim racer, big-time streamer, giving back to a community in need, like what Texas just went through, that horrible storm. Chris Overland there, he was one of the people affected by that storm. Didn't think he was even able to make it to the Carnomaly 500 for the prelims. Didn't have power just a couple days before, was hanging out in his car just to get some heat. Now finds himself in position to possibly be in contention to win this thing. He's led some laps, been up front a lot. So it's great to see Garrett giving back to that community in need.
A wonderful, wonderful display right there from Garrett Smithley. If he can pull this thing off, that would really go a long way towards helping some folks out who are in a lot of need. You know, we talked about the gamble that he made during his prelim race a few weeks ago, taking 2 tires when everybody else took 4. Now here, staying out and using another strategy, a strategy that I think makes a lot of sense considering he hasn't had a lot of track position tonight during this race. So you got to do something to get yourself out front. We've seen how important track position is, and this is absolutely one of those strategies that if it pays out at the end of this thing, we will all be talking about Garrett Smithley's ability to work strategy in his favor.
He does. He does a great job. He takes risk too, like big risk. He does things that conventional wisdom would say, no, that's not going to work, right? And then finds himself in the lead or in a great position up at the front. And I mean, we've seen that happen again here, basically putting himself in position to be in the conversation to win this thing. And he spent most of this race, most often, basically barely inside the top 20 or times outside of it. So this is the first time he's seen the absolute front of this event. He's been close, maybe in the top 10, but this will be a whole new experience restarting up there.
Another driver that had spent a lot of time up towards the front and then faded back in one of those cycles of green flag pit stops. Seth DeMerchant, now currently scored in the 3rd position in that number 57. Another one of those Logitech G Altus machines. Teammates to Michael Cozy Jr., Marcus Ruckman. Now that second car on the inside lane. DeMerchant re-emerging here inside 20 laps to go. That is certainly somebody that you have to consider as one to keep an eye on. A little bit fresher tires. Didn't pit with everybody under this caution. But a second chance now at the front of the field here to see what he can do.
Right, and Blackford's up there. We haven't talked a lot about him being up at the front. He was sort of tagging along on that pack as we entered those green flag pit cycles there. And what sort of put us under this caution was a bunch of cars on different tires. I suspect, we haven't seen it yet where the cautions breed cautions, but I suspect now having this late race cautions, we're going to see some serious big moves that are probably going to end in tears, some huge blocks, and a lot of moves that some drivers will be angry at, some will get away with, and 1 or 2 that might just find someone in a position they didn't expect to be in.
So
just past 10:30 here on the East Coast. Landon, what do you got?
Well, that was a report from Race Control. I had to leave the booth over here, head that way to see Josh, and see what was going on. So he really
that way.
That way. Well, that Josh is that way. You guys are this way. So when you have a caution in the middle of a green flag stop, I mean it sends the pace car out, and it gets a little confusing on timing and scoring. So we've got a lot of drivers that are still trying to figure out which car to get in front of under caution. So Race Control Josh Mendoza, is wisely extending the caution here a couple of laps just to let the field get lined back up. But we are going back green here very shortly. I think this time by.
Great job by Race Control. Figured it all out. I'm looking at time and scoring. I see it's all sorted. I'm seeing the right cars in the right positions on the lap they should be. So let's get this thing back going. I think this is going to be quite exciting here.
Excellent job by Race Control Josh Mendoza. Not an easy job to do there, especially when something like this throws a spanner in the works. And he's done a magnificent job to unwind all of this and get everybody back mostly to where they should be or close to where they should be. So an excellent job there. And Josh doing a wonderful job as the field gets ready to come back to the green flag. They'll be led there by Garrett Smithley, Colin Bowden to his outside on the front row. Pace car back to pit road as we get back to racing to start lap 184. 17 laps to go.
Very solid restart by Smithley there. On all their tires, got a good jump. They're 3 wide behind him. Is that Blackford on the top side?
Yeah, it's Blackford on the top.
Bowden with all kinds of traction issues in the middle. They're wiggling way down below the yellow line. That's Nick Morrison, Graham Bolin underneath the yellow line with Spencer Burns as DeMerchant takes the lead. Smithley on older tires. Bowden hard into the wall. Back down gets Maines. Spencer Burns involved. Overland goes around as well. Brandon Cattell up and over. Cattell's wrecked up and over on the banking in 3 and 4. Caution flag flies as that's a big wreck, and you have to wonder, the old tires out front, how much that played into it.
Oh, it had to have played everything. I mean, that was just total chaos. And now we know how bad these drivers want it. They played patience for 450 miles. It's no more time for patience.
Yeah, this is, I expected it. They were going everywhere there. I couldn't believe they made it as far down the backstretch as they did before going into turn 3. They were like 3 and 4 wide below the yellow line, almost into the grass again, bouncing along on the apron there, where it gets so bumpy as the track sort of connects to that chicane that you would have on the road course at Daytona. And we'll get a replay of it here.
Contact between Smithley and Bowden. Bowden up into the wall. Clips Maines down into Burns. Overland gets it, and I thought Cattell was going to be okay, and then he just has to keep avoiding Overland, but Maines was on the right rear. Up and over goes Cattell. One of the strongest cars in the entire field, Brandon Cattell, able to drive away after that, but not without a significant amount of damage.
Well, my predictor is picks have taken another hit.
Mine looks like Brandon Cattell's car.
We did have a pick up there. Is Seth the Merchant gonna pit or not?
What would he do if he did?
So we'll make that call here shortly.
I picked no pit stop, guys.
You think he's staying out?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're staying.
You can't pit here. You cannot pit here.
I love the position Brian Blackford's in, guys. He had a big move around the outside there, 3 wide. He's now second place. He's got a clean car. The Merchant's car is pretty clean as well. So I really like the position that Brian Blackford's in here.
Let me just tell you how much time 15 laps is, though. I mean, I know we're going to have 3 or 4 more of these laps under caution probably, but we still got a long ways to go. It's enough time to have a green flag run and then want to take tires if there's a caution.
The conversations between these drivers after that incident, not fit. I mean, I almost said an oopsie earlier. What they're talking about, not fit for this production, but emotions are high. We're getting into the end of this race, and there's a number of drivers who are very unhappy with Colin Bowden right now, not keeping his car up in the wall. Colin Bowden not happy with Garrett Smithley for the contact. As you can imagine, Landon, you get down to the end of these races, something doesn't go your way, it's a lot easier for your mouth to start running.
Yeah.
And
here we're going to see... looks like he's staying out. Whole bunch of them staying out.
Why wouldn't you?
I can't believe it.
I would pit from about 15th on back.
Nobody's pitting. Nobody in the top.
Wow.
Well, this is 1 to go. We've already determined. I think our
Garrett Smithley did come down pit road. Do you want to touch on that? He did come down pit road. A few others joined him as well, but mostly it was the drivers who were involved in that wreck to fix up damage. So we'll reset it like this. Seth the Merchant's your leader. Brian Blackford in second. Nick Morris in third. Graham Bolin in fourth. Gilliland, Doucette, Mullis, Cozy, Butler, and Busa. Now, the big difference is your 2 drivers on the front row, Blackford and DeMerchant, have about 3 laps more on their tires than everybody else behind them.
And the sun has set in Daytona. The track is the coolest it's been this entire race. 66 degrees.
Grip level high.
Doesn't that mean confidence and maybe overestimating grip goes up as well?
Over exuberance is on tap here, David.
Well, it's when we have enthusiasm exceeds grip, then we get crashes, and we're getting into that window, I do believe.
Overcommitment. We are probably going to see some overcommitment.
We are definitely in that position.
It'll be 13 laps to go on the restart to Merchant, Blackford, the front row. A lot of experience between those 2 drivers, and certainly 2 drivers A lot of people had high hopes for tonight, find themselves at the front of the field. Graham Bolin, who's been quick all night, second car in that outside lane. Ryan Doucette, haven't mentioned his name a whole lot yet tonight, third car in the outside lane. Green flag back in the air. The field gets back up to speed, very orderly side by side.
DeMerchant had a little bit more help there on the bottom. They were more organized. I don't think Blackford will quite have the run here unless he can get some more help from Bolin behind him. They're getting organized right behind him right now, shooting into turn 3. Big slide.
That yellow line roll. Graham Bolin's in trouble in this trial, and he saves it. What a save by Graham Bolin in front of Ryan Doucette. That could have been huge, but we stay green.
Getting a report, Blake McCandless got in the wall. Huge damage for him. He's off the pace.
Wow. Wow, wow. We talked about the yellow line rule or lack thereof. At some point, you got to imagine as we look at this replay, somebody's going to use that yellow line as Bolin makes that save in front of Doucette. I don't know how.
That was incredible. Through the hardest part of this racetrack, through the trials, somehow saved it. Unbelievable.
Morris is chomping on the back bumper of DeMerchant here.
Bolin all the way back to 10th place.
Look at Gilliland marching on the outside.
By himself as well. Gilliland trying to make that outside work. He's going to have help in the form of Matt Busa, Jimmy Mullis here momentarily as Nick Morse swings out to get in underneath Gilliland to try and get that second spot back. Blackford, Butler, and Colin Keister. We thought he was all used up and done. Keister's back up. 5th car in that inside lane.
Can't count him out. Do not count him out.
10 laps to go in the Carnomaly 500. Can Seth DeMerchant hold on? Will it be somebody else? Are they done wrecking?
Guys, Kyle Busch just entered the top 10. We chronicled his night through the whole night. He's been spun, wrecked. Look at him there, tailing on the back of the lead pack. He might have a shot at this thing.
He's got as good a shot as anybody. Don't count Rowdy out. He's got Michael Cozy Jr. behind him to push him along as we ride on board. He's got a good look at this. Unbelievable, the march, the up and down day for Kyle Busch. And through it all, in the final 25 miles of this race, finds himself in the top 10.
Unbelievable. Oh, Jimmy Mullis gets so loose in front of him.
All bets are off at this point. Nick Morris on the yellow line trying to take the lead away from Seth DeMerchant. Butler, big bump into Blackford, and he holds onto it into 3, stacks him up a little bit. Busa has to take evasive action. Up the banking they go. Nick Morris fighting for the lead out of 4, trying to take it from Seth DeMerchant.
That was a hell of a move. It was down below the yellow line. He shot down there, almost tricked him a little bit to get down there. Had a little... no help. Oh, gets super loose now. Brian Blackford's right on his tail, trying to go to the middle. 3 wide for 3rd.
You can tell the tires are really starting to fall off. Even the bottom groove, they're sliding up into the middle a little bit more.
We got a wreck. Big Santiago Tiras is around in the middle of 1 and 2, but he wasn't the first one to go around. It was Spencer Burns. Spencer Burns loses control, clips Santi. Oh, what a huge hit for Santi. Aaron Smith involved. Graham Bolin involved as well. As this caution will fly, Santi Tiras is going to be done in this one. Smoke trailing out the back of his number 44 machine.
I'm going to say you can't pit. No way. Can't give up track position now.
No. You've made your bed. You're committed to it.
Oh, man. That's tough. I mean, here's the one thing on that where you're probably right. We've got more cars on the lead lap than we've ever had in these races.
We look at this. Spencer Burns again. Another classic. Entering too high, but instead of hitting the wall with the front end first, Spencer got loose. Santi nowhere to go on the way past. Another look at this. It was a late move to the middle. It looked like that was Logan Helton who threw it into the middle there. Caught Spencer flat-footed. Santi hard in the outside wall. Aaron Smith right there to collect him as well. Really nothing Spencer Burns can do there. You don't expect that move that late is to get to the corner.
Here we go.
No one's pitting. There's no way.
I would do it outside the top. Oh!
Oh, late move for DeMerchant. He brings Blackford, Gillen, Busa, Butler, and others. Keister down pit road. Wow.
Wow. So they leave Morse hanging.
So the question is it 2 tires? Is it 4 tires? I would think it's 2. If you're coming down pit road, just take the track position.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
because there's going to be
about-
so many drivers taking 2.
Yeah, I think there's about 7 that stayed out there. This just got all jumbled up. The best thing in Morse's favor is the amount that stayed out. You had about
I mean,
8.
it looks like 2, 4, 6. Yeah, 8 drivers stayed out. I mean, you could... DeMerchant, Blackford maybe could benefit from 4 tires because they led the groups down pit road. But there's going to be, out of the 10, 15 cars that pitted, 10 of them are going to take 2.
So Colin Keister took 2 tires. Stephen Norman took 2 tires. Those are going to be your only 2-tire takers from this group.
I'm wrong.
Everybody else 4 tires behind them. That's going to put Stephen Norman in the 10th position.
This is different strategy than we've seen in all of our races.
So we're going to have to sort of peel through this and try and figure out what tires they're on, where they're restarting. So basically, Keister on back in 9th is the the cars that pitted. Assuming he was 2 tires. I'm assuming most were probably 2 tires at this point, but we'll have to see if we can check it out.
So that's going to make Blake Reynolds the first car in the lead group who didn't pit, as he's now coming down pit road.
I think
curious strategy.
Well,
now here's a resurging story for you. Garrett Smithley stayed out a while back, got caught up in a little bit of incident with Colin Bowden, pitted, and now is back inside the top 10 with the freshest tires of those who didn't pit.
Yeah, it could be, but I mean I guess I don't know how many laps are on his tires, David, but
it's not many. He's actually in a really good position. So
he's a sitting duck to even if it's 3 or 4, he's a sitting duck to Norman right there with 2 tires. Blackford starting right behind him. Gill and Busa, Butler all the way down.
You never want to be the last car on old tires, right?
That's right.
Nope.
So Keister will restart in the 8th position as we put a large bonus point predictor up for you. Will we see a green-white checker? Get your pick in there now on the eRacr predictor. Will we see a green-white checker for 1,000 points? Thank you for giving me my 1,000-point question.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
I think that is a guarantee, guys.
Man, it might be. I don't know. I mean, we're going to see a lot of 3 wide. We've got 5 rows. We've got 5 rows of cars before we even get to tires. So this is going to be insane.
Let's reset it for you. Nick Morse will lead him to green alongside Jimmy Mullis. Ryan Doucette, Michael Cozy Jr., Liam Brotherton, Brad Slaughter Jr. in 6th, Keister, Smithley, DeMerchant, Norman in the top 10. Your top 6 stayed out. Keister on 2 tires in that 8th position. Green flag underway. How do they get on? Is this going to be 4 laps to go as Corey Keister's around at the start-finish line? This is the big one. DeMerchant's involved. Half the field, if not more, involved here. Kyle Busch involved. A lot of cars tore up as DeMerchant drives backwards to get it spun back around, and that starts around that 3rd or 4th car in the outside lane, losing traction, and that was the big one.
You knew it was coming. You knew it. Busa was the one up to the outside there when we get the replay going. Kyle Busch followed him. They had a great clear line and then all hell broke loose right in front of them. There was nowhere they could go.
It starts with Brad Slaughter in that 81, third car in the outside lane as you watch the melee ensue. On those old tires, just did not go. Keister with the 2 tires had the traction.
Oh, look at this.
Oh.
You can just see how many cars in that shot got caught up into this. There's only 7 or 8 cars. Here's your thought now. Once we know where they're lined up, I mean, we just took out 2 or 3 rows of drivers with old tires. So who's your first car with a clean race car still with new tires? There's not very many cars clean.
We'll see when it comes back. I think it's Blackford.
Blackford's got damage. I mean, I don't know how bad it is, but
Blackford's a lot of damage front and rear. As we look at this from onboard Blake McCandless, getting it woed up down through the grass. There's Bush. Oh my gosh.
Wow. What avoidance. You're going to see Seth DeMerchant here driving it backwards. What skill there, by the way.
I mean,
Great
I like
job
the position
by
Blake's in.
McCandless. Yeah, Blake's in a good spot here. Jimmy Mullis is going to be scored as your leader. Michael Cozy Jr. is going to be second. Nick Morris, the big loser in that. He was the race leader, is now third. Doucette, Brotherton, Smithley, your top 6.
It might be Busa with the freshest tires.
He's got a tore-up race car, though.
He's tore up.
Busa got really, he was really involved in that crash as well. A lot of damage to the right front of the Mode Media House machine. We're at the point now.
Brotherton in my top 5, by the way.
I look at these race cars.
I don't think there's anyone left in my top 5.
Mullis has a fairly clean car, minus a little damage on the right rear. Cozy, he's had a few trips into the outside wall, but that 99 still looking strong as we look again at Blake McCandless sliding through this wreck.
I believe Kyle Busch's car is still running somehow. That's one tough Toyota Camry, I won't lie. That thing has been through a war.
Look at them all just sitting on pit road fixing damage.
I expected that. I just expected that situation down into turn 3, right?
Yeah.
That the restart, I thought most were going to think, all right, nothing's going to happen here. But it was really Busa shot to that outside, and then you saw Roper there getting pushed by Keister, and he just, I feel like that push knocked him up the track in a way that he was trying to pull it down at the same time. That gets him loose. You had Busa and Kyle Busch coming with a huge head of steam, and all hell broke loose. But I really expected that later on.
Well, it will be more than 200 laps tonight. We get extra racing.
Bring it on. More racing.
We just started lap 200.
We're not even going to charge extra for this, guys.
Nope. Green, white checker attempt number 1.
Don't forget to join our Discord if you type !Discord in the Twitch chat right now. Join our Discord. Jump in a voice channel. Looks like Kevin McAdams is leading the watch party. We also got some folks in the kitchen there. So jump in a voice channel. Hang out with us. We'll be there after this. The after party.
Plenty to discuss after
David,
this
you're getting
one.
another 1,000-point question.
Love it. This is what we need to really mix things up. As the lights have gone out, top the pace car. Let's reset. Coming to this first green-white checker, Mullis and Cozy on the front row. Morris Doucette, row 2. Brotherton, Smithley in row 3. Busa with a lot of damage along with Keister in row 4. Blackford and Bolton in row 5. I think the first 2 rows of cars are the cleanest that we have on track. Smithley, fairly clean car as well. And fresher tires than the 5 in front of him, but less fresh tires than those behind him. But it's a clean car.
It might be Smithley with the cleanest car and the best tires.
Oh boy. 2 laps separate somebody from $3,000. Will it be an eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver and Jimmy Mullis for Richmond Raceway Esports? Will it be a Road to Pro qualification series contender for Horizon Racing and G Altus Logitech, Michael Cozy Jr., or somebody else? 2 laps. We'll find out. Green flag back in the air. Mullis down and away with a good launch. Cozy with a push from Doucette's going to clear down in front of Morse. Morse not taking it. Goes to the yellow line himself.
Oh, they were all over the place behind them, but they keep it together. Doucette's got a run up there. Just doesn't have a lot of help. Let's see if Morse can move up. Maybe Smithley can get to his back bumper, give him the little bit of momentum he needs. Who's going to shoot below the yellow line here with a big run?
Cozy thought about it, didn't have the space. Mullis leads into 3. Doucette on the outside, going to lose a little bit of speed there as he had to check up. Off of turn 4, if they make it back, we race it back. Here comes Jimmy Mullis, Michael Cozy Jr., Nick Morse. White flag in the air, 2.5 miles.
Next flag ends it. Can he develop a run here? Morse and Doucette don't quite have the run. They're a little sideways. They need to get organized and use that momentum down the backstretch.
Down the Daytona super stretch for the final time. Jimmy Mullis leads from Michael Cozy Jr. Nick Morse not close enough to help either of them. It's a stalemate. Into 3 they go. Mullis out in front. Cozy trying to get that run. Does he have enough? Out of turn 4. Checkered flag in the air. It's gonna be Jimmy Mullis across the line and winning the Carnomaly 500.
Great job, Jimmy Mullis, eNASCAR driver for Richmond Raceway Esports. He's won some big races in his life. This might be one of the biggest, though, by far. You know, we saw him at times in this race. He outside the top 10, outside the top 20, but was never out of it. Kept that car just clean enough. Real loose at times. Finds himself a Carnomaly 500 winner, making $3,000 here tonight. Great job, Jimmy Mullis.
Unbelievable. I mean, not anywhere on our radar for that entire race. We saw so many aggressive moves for the win, for the lead throughout the race, thinking we knew the favorites. But imagine that, Jimmy Mullis, your Carnomaly 500 champion.
Take a look at a wreck behind the field that involved Blackford, Doucette, and others coming out of turn 4 with the checkered flag in the air. Graham Bolin there you see, who was so strong early in this race. Gilliland involved. Oh, my goodness.
Big wreck.
Jimmy Mullis will burn it down in the infield of Daytona International Speedway. A winner here tonight for Richmond Raceway Esports and Sunoco. No stranger to victory lane. You know he's got to be happy as he will join Brandon Cattell as winners of eRacr events here in the first ever Carnomaly 500. Wow. Let's look at the unofficial results here. Mullis with the win over Michael Cozy Jr. Nick Morse in 3rd. Busa, Burns, Blake McCandless recovers for a 6th place finish. Liam Brotherton, Garrett Smithley, Timmy Holmes, and Brandon Cattell round out the top 10. Logan Helton, Blake Reynolds, Aaron Smith, James D. Gibson, Sean Butler, your top 15, along with Mac McMillan, Kyle Busch, P17, Blackford, Colin Keister, and Justin Bolton in the top 20. Overland, Gilliland, Maines, Doucette, Slaughter, Bolin, and Norman, the 27 cars on the lead lap. Seth the Merchant, 28th, Alt, and David Brown in 30th.
Let's, David, let's speak with our winner here. We've got Jimmy Mullis in the channel. Jimmy, you're the winner of the Carnomaly 500.
Man, I don't know what to say. I don't know if I can even find the right words. This is incredible. I want to give a huge thank you to Nick Ottinger, man. He helped me all day, dialing this car in, and we had something we could race with. I didn't have much short run speed. I'm surprised I held on, but man, this thing was a rocket on long runs, and man, it just feels real good to finally win a race.
Hey, I want to ask you about maybe a little earlier in the race. You mentioned how good it was on long runs and not good on short runs. But early in the race, we saw you at times avoiding big wrecks. I mean, was there a time you were a little worried that you were going to have a shot to be at the front of this thing late? Or did you think maybe as nighttime came, you were going to get better?
I'll be real honest with you there. When we got the caution around lap 180, I thought I kind of messed myself up by pitting. Because I had just come off pit road when the yellow came out, but I didn't want to have a tire disadvantage at all. So I came down. And that put me like 15th or something. And Like you said, there was a lot of wrecks that I've just barely got through today, and that's all thanks to Zach Novak. He did a great job spotting me through everything, and yeah, I don't know how it all worked out, but it did, and we're winners at the Carnomaly 500.
That's awesome, man. I hear you. Well, congratulations, man. You just made $3,000. Not a bad deal for putting in a $25 entry fee at the beginning of this thing, right?
Oh, not bad at all. That's huge. And I want to thank you guys a lot for even putting events like this on, and everybody that came together to make this possible. It was really cool to be a part of, and these events, like I said, they're always fun. Look forward to the next one.
Jimmy, I'm sure Brandon Brown is thrilled right now. You gave him some extra work to do to get this out across social media, but NASCAR goes to Las Vegas this weekend. You got $3,000 coming your way. You coming out to the track?
I might actually look into that now. But yeah, this is awesome for all of us, man. This is a big deal. I've been looking forward to this race for what is it, 3 weeks now, and man, just what a night.
Awesome.
There you go. Winner tonight, Jimmy Mullis, Richmond Raceway Esports. Congratulations. Hey, if you come out to Vegas, hit me up. I'll be there.
Copy that. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Counting that all night. Congratulations, man.
All right. Let's move on then. Let's talk to second place. Michael Cozy Jr. Let's get him in here. I'm sure he's got a lot going on right now. Cozy, you and I talked a lot before this race. We talked this afternoon. We don't have to go into specifics, but damn it, you almost did it.
Oh, man, David, I can't believe I'm talking to you right now. I thought I'd have a chance, man. It's just that one accident we had down there in the 4. I got in the back of the 10, I believe, and I got a little bit of damage from it. I couldn't get the run, but oh my goodness, I can't even believe what just happened, man. I don't even know what to say, dude. P2, like, so close, but at the same time, like, I had just such an eventful race. I don't even know what to say, dude. This is crazy.
Hey, man, did you ever think of those last couple laps when you didn't have the run, or maybe coming to the white flag, thinking about seeing if you could back up to the guys behind you and try to get a bigger run on Jimmy, or did you just think you're just going to see if you could materialize yourself?
Well, to be fair, I figured I was a little bit slower, but I was not considering going back there with a 12. I would rather just would have had a shot one-on-one. I figured if I could just somehow get a run, I thought I was going to get it, but, if I could have got to the outside, because I knew he would have blocked low, I like to think I could have got it to stick. Yeah, it's just, unfortunately, it didn't work out, but, it's how it goes, man. I still can't believe it.
Well, Cozy, I know you didn't have your teammates there at the end. It was a tough night for them, a lot of wrecks, but you drove through and got through some of those wrecks, and I've seen you do that for a long time now. I still don't know how you got through a couple of those. I'm sure you don't either, but you made it, and congratulations, P2 in the Carnomaly 500, buddy. Well done.
Thank you. Hopefully everybody knows the name now.
I certainly do.
If they didn't know it before, they do now. That's Michael Cozy Jr. in P2, and now we will bring in the third place finisher, Nick Morris. Nick, congratulations. Bottom step of the podium, but the podium nonetheless. You were a leader near the end of this race. You come home third. Tell us about it.
Which part? Car was great. I got to thank HPM Mocha Esports for working with us. I want to thank Tahan and Daniel Roper for all the work they put in the setup. And I want to just thank the group. It was pretty good racing there with them, but pretty frustrated, to be honest. I'm in the control car, went normal. 2 cars passed me. I didn't slide the tires, didn't miss a gear, and it was a normal start. I've never seen like that in my life. I lost 2 spots under yellow, so I'm pretty frustrated. Happy I got third, but I'm just pissed off about that restart. It's frustrating. I came here to win.
I hear you, man. What about there late in the those last couple of laps? Did you think you could materialize a run? I know you were getting some big runs down the backstretch. You just couldn't quite get the help. Where do you think it was going to come from if it did?
When I saw they were racing hard behind me, that was good. And then obviously, I had a great car, but it took me 30 laps to get to the lead every single time. So I was like, I'm staying out. It's going to take too long to get back to the front. I was going to push Michael. Him and I are pretty same speed all day. And so I thought if I could get him up to Jimmy, they might hook or something, but I could never get close enough to give him an air bubble. So once I saw Michael couldn't get a run on him, all I did was just try to stay in the draft and come home third.
There you
Well,
go.
but-
Congratulations, Nick. It's you. I was saying during the broadcast, you were one of the most aggressive drivers out there. You were taking big risks, but making it work on the bottom. And with all the preparation, and you come into this without some of the, some of these guys have a handful of people helping them and teammates out here. And you came into this largely on your own for this event in particular. To come out of here with a P3 still has to feel like quite the accomplishment.
It does. I mean, everyone knows who I am. I'm a freaking cage tornado in the car. Stripes change the colors. I'm mad, but I'm really happy. And I'm old. This is an old car. This was right in my wheelhouse. So I was looking forward to this event, and I'm glad I got a top 3 out of it. But I was going for it, man. I was here to win.
We
Well, you
saw
can
that.
always take that with you. Absolutely. You put on a great show. Nick, congratulations. P3 in the Carnomaly 500. Congrats.
Thank you guys for putting this on. Thanks to all the viewers, and thank you guys for the event.
Awesome. Thank you, bud.
There you have it. Your podium finishers here tonight. Landon, we'll turn to you first. It's done. The Carnomaly 500's in the books. My goodness, what an event this was.
Oh, we made it through it. I can't believe it. I mean, what a race. This car and track combination did not let us down. We knew it going into it. That's why we picked it. That's why we wanted to do it. The eRacr Predictor was a lot of fun. We're going to give away a ton of prizes. We do need to pick a Blue Emu Battle Scars award. So, out of one of the drivers, I don't know. Who do you think? Show us in the chat who had the worst battle scars, who had the hard luck tonight. That just needs some relief from Blue Emu, some relief that won't make you stink. Put it in the chat there. I think getting some Keister, Bush, maybe Ottinger, obviously. It's
a good one.
I think Ottinger's pretty fair. We'll probably get him one no matter what. What a race! I mean, what a whole event. Just the time that everybody's put into this. You got to thank the production crew and the competitors. On the predictor, I think that it looks like James Pike has the most points. We're getting word from race control that might be under review given the conflict of interest, because James is part of our production crew. For me, obviously, that moves me up from second place to first place. I won't get disqualified.
Well, if that's the case, if James isn't eligible and you're not eligible, that would make Jazzo McSpazzo your overall eRacr Predictor winner.
Jazzo McSpazzo. All right, what a name! All right.
Congratulations,
Jazzo, show yourself. Somebody gift him a sub at least. Make sure that Jazzo's a sub on the channel. Jazzo will be finding you. Looks like Jedi Ninja Ball finished second. 3 Wide Racing, that's Ace. Ace with a podium. Jazzo is a she. All right.
T. Gary, NASCAR fan. He ended up there in the top board here. Pretty stars forever. So everyone out there in the top 10, you'll definitely be getting prizes. And then all of you out of 449 minus Landon and James Pike, you'll all be getting prizes as well. So, or not all of you, some of you will be entered into prize giveaways. So this was a lot of fun. Hey, I just want to thank all the competitors. Almost 400 showed up to this here about 3 weeks ago. They dedicated time, effort, resources. Our whole production team, 16 plus person team works on this thing. Thousands of man hours have all done a great job to bring this whole production and a great event to everyone. And thank you to the whole racing world, all our sponsors, everyone that makes this possible. This was a lot of fun, and we'll be back, guys. We will be back.
Will we?
Yes.
We will.
Okay.
Will we?
With what? That's what the people want to know. What will we be back with?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Fair enough. My lips are sealed. My lips are sealed. Well, we will leave it there then for you. Don't go anywhere. It's like a Marvel movie. There might be something coming up after this broadcast is done. You're probably going to want to see if you want to know. But we will leave it there. Carnomaly 500, a full success. Jimmy Mullis, your winner here tonight. And a huge congratulations go out to him, his team, and everybody who made it in from 400 down to 43. And we thank you for being here to watch it over the past 2 weeks. or so. It has been an absolute pleasure to be here on air once again with eRacr and this amazing group of people, from Landon Cassill, Parker Kligerman, Kim Kuhn down on pit road, our entire production staff, and everybody who helped out in some way or another, and especially to you, our viewers, for making this what it was. I'm David Schildhouse saying thank you so much for watching. Congratulations, Jimmy Mullis, and we will be seeing you soon.